Chapter 424. This feeling? Xiaoping's eyes flashed. He sensed that his true essence had invaded the bodies of many students. A trace of true essence contained his own spiritual power. He could sense every movement of the other party's qigong. It seemed that true essence was a living power. As long as he moved his mind, he could immediately detonate this true essence and blow these students into pieces. Oh, you want me to stop? Xiaoping smiled at Mu Haoran and others. Weren't you guys still being stubborn just now? It's impossible for you to bow your heads. It didn't take long for you to bow your heads, surrender, and beg me for mercy? This. Mu Haoran and the others were extremely aggrieved. Xiaoping's words made them want to immediately bury their heads in the depths of the ground. This was really too shameful. It was clearly a slap to their faces, and it was a slap to death. But now their lives and even their futures were still in the hands of Xiaoping. As long as Xiaoping had a little bad intention, they would be dead. Even if they could survive, their martial arts would be crippled and they would have no future in this life. Although they also had a powerful family standing behind them, these families had countless descendants, and they were not the only ones. If they were crippled, there were plenty of people who could replace them. Even if they could retaliate afterwards and make Xiaoping unlucky, it would be useless. They would become cripples for the rest of their lives. No amount of money could exchange for that. They didn't dare to bet that Xiaoping would not dare to make a move. After all, this kid was simply a madman. He could even sweep away countless martial arts clubs in Yanhuang University and offend all the students. What else couldn't he do? They didn't have the guts to bet their futures and lives that Xiaoping would not dare to make a move. I'm sorry, we were wrong, really wrong. Please forgive us. We actually dared to have the idea of dealing with Lord Xia. We are simply beasts. It's just 100,000 points. We'll pay for it immediately. Mu Haoran and others all shouted loudly. They finally bowed their heads and begged Xiaoping for mercy. They no longer had their previous arrogance and domineering arrogance. After all, they couldn't even escape. How could they fight against this monster? Although 100,000 points was a lot, compared to their lives and future, it was still insignificant. Yes, then let's sign the contract now. Xiaoping immediately took out his communication device and made a contract. It was legally binding and he had Mu Haoran and the others sign it. Once the contract was signed, he was not afraid that Mu Haoran and the others would go back on their word. After all, if they still wanted to live on the side of humans, they would definitely not dare to violate the law. Mu Haoran and the others were extremely aggrieved. Their hearts were dripping with blood. Just like that, a total of 100,000 points had disappeared just like that. This was practically cutting off their flesh. Moreover, there were 20 to 30 of them here. If each of them provided 100,000 points, this kid would probably get 3 million points. This was a huge sum of money. Even a martial master realm expert would have to spend a lot of time to obtain 3 million points. However, this bastard could obtain it so easily. This was too unfair. However, it was impossible for them to go back on their word. A wisp of true essence was still within their bodies. As long as this boy willed it, their entire bodies would be burnt to ashes. How could they dare to have any other thoughts? Left with no choice, they could only sign the contract with Xiaoping. They promised to give Xiaoping 100,000 points within 2 months. If they were late, they would be charged interest. They also wanted to take out 100,000 points now. However, in order to cultivate, buy treasures, secret manuals, etc., they did not have many points left. If they wanted to obtain 100,000 points, they would probably need another 2 months. They would have to risk their lives to complete the missions and borrow money from others. Only then would they be able to obtain 100,000 points. However, Xiaoping was also anxious. After all, he had obtained 3 million points for free. Even if he was late by 2 months, it would not be a problem. Rascal. Seeing this situation, Suji was speechless. This guy's way of earning money was simply unparalleled. He was like a bandit, specializing in plundering other people's wealth to strengthen himself. Even the descendants of the sovereign clans were not this overbearing. Done. Mu Haoran and the others finally signed the contract. With a thought, Xiaoping immediately removed the foreign true essence from their bodies. He did not leave a trace of power to control their bodies. Immediately, Mu Haoran and the others heaved a sigh of relief. If there was such a trace of power in their bodies at all times, they would not be able to eat or sleep in peace. It was like having a time bomb installed in their bodies. Fortunately, it was removed now. Otherwise, they would not be able to feel at ease. After completely taming Mu Haoran and the others, Xiaoping turned around and walked toward the lake. He wanted to pluck the 100-year moon heart lotus at the edge of the lake. This was a rare spiritual medicine. He would not waste it. Just as Xiaoping approached the lake, the calm surface of the lake immediately trembled. Huge crocodiles rushed out. Their bodies were covered in black armor. Their faces were ferocious. They were undoubtedly fiendish demons. Adamantine demonic crocodiles. Mu Haoran and the others immediately recognized the identity of these fiendish demons. These fiendish demons were called adamantine demonic crocodiles. They lived at the edge of the lake and their strength was extremely tyrannical. It was said that they grew sharp fangs. Their biting strength reached several hundred tons. With a light bite they could swallow titanium alloy like chocolate effortlessly. Furthermore, their bodies were covered in black scales. They were as hard as adamantine. Even a laser gun would not be able to penetrate their defense. They were extremely terrifying. Let's kill them. Mu Haoran and the others could not help but shout in their hearts. They all knew how terrifying these adamantine demonic crocodiles were. One of them was enough to fight against a first heaven martial master. Now that more than 10 of them suddenly appeared, and it was a sudden attack, ordinary martial artists would be instantly killed without any ability to resist. Have they appeared? Die for me. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. With his mental power, these adamantine demonic crocodiles thought that they had concealed themselves well. However, in reality they had nowhere to hide. As the saying goes, spiritual medicine has a spirit. There must be a monster guarding it. He did not believe that there were no monsters in this place. Indeed, with his mental power, these adamantine demonic crocodiles were quietly lying in the depths of the lake, waiting for them to die. This was a trap set by the adamantine demonic crocodiles using the moon heart lotus. They had used this trap to kill countless humans. It was almost always successful. Unfortunately, they had kicked an iron plate this time. Rumble. Xiaoping took a step forward and activated the pure yang immortal art. His body immediately emitted a frightening dark red flame. His whole body was like a man on fire. The surrounding dozens of meters turned into a sea of fire. Chapter 425. Immediately, the dozen adamantine demonic crocodiles that wanted to kill Xiaoping were immediately infected by the dark red flame, which instantly invaded their bodies and burned their devil chi. They immediately let out mournful screams, as if the flame had come into contact with natural gas. Their entire bodies were covered by the terrifying flame, and their bodies constantly rolled trying to extinguish the flame. But it was useless. This was the flame that Xiaoping cultivated by absorbing the essence of the sun and refined by cultivating the pure yang immortal incantation. Its power was unimaginably terrifying, with the power of extreme yang, comparable to the water of life. It could be said that this flame was the nemesis of those demons. Bang bang bang. In just a few breaths' time, these adamantine demonic crocodiles were immediately burned into black charcoal. Because of the rolling of the adamantine demonic crocodiles, a deep pit was smashed on the ground, causing the earth to tremble. Because of the spread of the flame, the soil turned into molten lava, and the surrounding temperature rose sharply. Mu Haoran and the others could not help but retreat a dozen steps, barely able to resist the power of the flame. How is this possible? Seeing that the dozen adamantine demonic crocodiles were burned into charcoal in a few breaths' time, unable to even struggle, Mu Haoran and the others' eyes almost popped out. Their hearts were almost in despair. Even these demons couldn't kill Xiaoping, and instead were killed by this bastard. Then who else could be this kid's opponent? Wouldn't they be oppressed to death by this bastard for the rest of their lives? Wouldn't they have to work for him for the rest of their lives? Oh my god, what kind of qigong is this? Why is the power of the flame so terrifying? Su Ji could not help but widen her beautiful eyes, feeling that it was unimaginable. She also knew some descendants of kings who had the power of flame in their bodies, and they also cultivated a flame cultivation method, but it was not as exaggerated as Xiaoping, who burned the demons to death in a few breaths' time, without them even being able to struggle. The power was not as simple as several times, the difference was at least dozens of times, almost impossible to make up for. Xiaoping did not pay attention to other people's surprise, immediately took out the demon cores of the dozen adamantine demonic crocodiles and put them into his spatial ring. After all, these demon cores were good stuff. If refined, the effect would not be inferior to any elixir. At the same time, he also took out the 100-year moon heart lotus. At this time, the adamantine demonic crocodiles that dared to ambush in the lake were completely killed. No demons dared to stand out and provoke them. Rumble. All of a sudden, the entire cloud mist mountain range started to shake, as if there was an earthquake with a magnitude of more than 10. Dense demonic energy spread out, and a black fog appeared in the sky. What's going on? Why is there an earthquake? Some students were shocked, not knowing what was going on. Suji's complexion was grave as she said in a deep voice, "It should be because the Cloud Mist Mountain range is about to close. Those demons that are hiding in the mountains are about to come out and form a demon tide. If we don't leave in time, we will all be torn to shreds by the countless fiendish demons." Mu Haoran found it hard to believe. Didn't they say that the Cloud Mist Mountain range would only close after a month? There are still a few days before the month ends. A month, that's just an approximate time. In fact, the time may be earlier or later. Suji said in a deep voice, "Once the demon tide rises, we must evacuate, otherwise we will die." Just as he said that, the mountains in the distance began to tremble and the ground split open. It seemed as though millions of demons were emerging from the cracks. They charged out in all directions like a tidal wave. Even the lake in front of them was split in half. A large amount of the lake water receded and the ground in the middle split open. Black fog gushed out and demons crawled out from the bottom of the lake, wanting to devour the world. Damn it, the demon tide really appeared. This is too scary. All of them are demons and there are thousands of them. We can't stay here any longer. We must run away quickly. Everyone was shocked and felt a strong sense of crisis. If they continued to stay here, they would definitely be swarmed by countless demons and be bitten until not even their bones were left. Xiaoping felt it the most. His mental power sensed that there seemed to be peerless demons coming out from the depths of the black fog. They were at the peak of the martial master realm and even had the strength of the grandmaster realm. Once these demons appeared, they would be no match for them even if they worked together. They would be killed in an instant. Without saying anything, he immediately used the Kunpeng steps and ran far away. His whole body was like a big bird, controlling the airflow and gliding crazily. In a few breaths, he had escaped hundreds of meters away. This bastard. Mu Haoran and the others were green with envy. This guy was so arrogant just now. Now that he saw a group of demons in danger, he ran away faster than anyone else. He was simply shameless. What a rogue. Suji was also a little surprised and then a look of contempt appeared on her face. Xiaoping ran away faster than anyone else. It was as if he had wings and used all his strength to escape. Suddenly she also remembered something. When danger came, it was not a competition of speed. As long as you were faster than the last person, you would be able to survive. Xiaoping definitely had such an idea. He wanted to use them as cannon fodder to shut the mouths of those demons. Run. Thinking of this, Mu Haoran and the others did not have time to curse at Xiaoping. One by one they took a healing elixir and endured the pain in their bodies. They all ran toward the entrance of the Cloud Mist Mountains. They also used the fastest speed in their lives. Even their blood began to burn. They did not dare to look back and directly ran at a speed that was as fast as death. Rumble. At this time, groups of demons walked out from the black fog. Each of them was holding a steel fork. Like a herd of beasts, they formed groups and crazily rushed in all directions. Anything that stood in front of them would be torn to pieces in an instant. Die for me. Xiaoping crazily sprinted. His whole body surged with violent flames. He was like a man on fire. Along the way he brought along terrifying flames. Any demons that dared to approach him were instantly torn to pieces and burned to ashes. This kind of momentum was simply like a rampaging tank, crushing everything in its path. After running for a full hour and killing countless demons along the way, Xiaoping and the others finally arrived at the entrance of the Cloud Mist Mountains. A huge door of light appeared in front of them. A large number of students frantically ran toward the door of light. Go! Xiaoping vigorously jumped, cracking the ground. In an instant he jumped toward the door of light and arrived at the tunnel. He madly ran. In a few breaths' time he finally left the Cloud Mist Mountains. He breathed in the fresh air outside and absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It was as if he had obtained a new life. We're out. Chapter 426. When the Cloud Mist Mountains were completely closed, apart from the students who had died inside, most of them had come out. However, almost all of them were injured and had weak auras. What? A teacher from Ares College suddenly shouted. You said that Niezhen died in the Cloud Mist Mountains? And he was killed by someone called Wu Wudi? Oh, who is that Wu Wudi? How could he be so daring? He roared in anger. Niezhen was an elite of Ares College and was known as the future king. Such a person was the focus of the school. Furthermore, he was from the Nie family and was the grandson of the king Nie Wudao. The death of such a person would cause a huge commotion and infuriate many people. It can't be. Even Niezhen died inside and he was killed by someone? The killer is called Wu Wudi. Where did this kid come from? I've never heard of this student's name. I don't know where he came from. He's really ruthless. He even dared to kill Niezhen. Is he crazy? Killing people in the Cloud Mist Mountains is not illegal. After all, everyone who entered signed a life and death agreement. It's not illegal, but will the Nye family care about this? If one of their people dies, I'm afraid they will all go crazy. No matter who that Wu Wudi is, he will definitely be hunted down by the Nye family. Many teachers were discussing. They were completely stunned by the news of Niezhen's death. They would never have thought that someone as strong as Niezhen would be killed. Moreover, the other party was an unknown nobody, which was even more unimaginable. Wu Wudi, come out. Come out immediately. An Ares College teacher shouted angrily. How dare you kill Niezhen? Are you crazy? Do you know that this is a serious crime? The entire Cloud Realm cannot tolerate it. He looked around angrily trying to find Wu Wudi. However, there were too many students here. They were not just from Yanhuang University, Ares College, Tianjin University, and Black-White College. There were also students from other top universities. There were at least hundreds of thousands of students here. Finding a murderer among so many students was as difficult as finding a needle in a haystack. The other students looked at each other, their eyes flickering. They looked around at their companions trying to find out who the real Wu Wudi was. But no matter how hard they looked, they could not find Wu Wudi. Investigate thoroughly. Investigate all the students immediately. Whoever dared to kill Niezhen's men, no matter who it is, must be severely punished. Let's begin. Isolate them and investigate them one by one. Let's see who has the guts to actually dare to kill Niezhen. They must be tired of living. If we don't find out who the murderer is, none of you will be able to leave. One by one the Ares College teachers jumped out. Their faces were as dark as ink, and their bodies emitted a cold aura. Their eyes were like eagles staring at the surrounding students. They all looked as if they would not rest until they thoroughly investigated all the students. Let's go. A Yanhuang University teacher could not be bothered with this group of Ares College teachers. He directly ordered the Yanhuang University students to leave. He was not interested in helping Ares College find the culprit, nor was he obligated to. Moreover, anything that happened in the Cloud Mist Mountains was his responsibility. He had already signed a life and death contract. If a student died, they would have to mobilize a large number of people to investigate every student. How troublesome would that be? Now that Niezhen was dead, it was only because he was from the Nye family and had great power. That was why he was so angry. If an ordinary student had died, personally killed by Niezhen, no one would care. The family of the student who was killed could only grit their teeth and swallow their anger. There was nothing they could do. They might even be accused of being unreasonable by the Nye family. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Hearing this, the Yanhuang University students also moved, walking towards their school's super battleship. Xia Ping was also among the many students, his expression calm. You. The Ares College teachers were furious. They did not expect that the Yanhuang University students would not give them face. They simply ignored their existence and left. But this was also normal. Although the Nye family was powerful, there were many other royal families in the Cloud Realm that were comparable to the Nye family. They were not the only ones. Moreover, the Nye family had a close relationship with Ares College. There was a conflict of interest, but it did not mean that they had a good relationship with Yanhuang University. They had no obligation to help such unrelated people. Not to mention, it was impossible for him to take the initiative to help the other party find the murderer. Most importantly, if the culprit was a student from their own school, what would they do? Would they have to hand over the students from their own school? Seeing this situation, the other universities also began to move. They all left one after another, ignoring Ares College's anger. They all left quickly as if they did not exist. These people from Ares College are all crazy. They even want to investigate every student. Who do they think they are? Even the federal police would not dare to do so. They are probably used to being arrogant and think that everyone has to listen to them. Yanhuang University, Black and White College, Tianjin University. Which school would lose to them? They even want to order people around and investigate every student. I really don't know what is going on in their heads. So what if Niezhen is dead? It is a great loss to Ares College, but it is nothing to the entire human world. Although geniuses like him are rare, they're not rare either. He future king? That sounds nice. He has not reached that level yet. He is just a baby. For a junior, he wants to shake the rules of the Cloud Mountains. Even the Wolf King Nye Wudao is not qualified. Descendant of a king? His death means that he is nothing. Even if he is not dead now, he will be killed by the demons sooner or later. Let's go. I can't be bothered with this bunch of lunatics from Ares College. Let them wake up. This world is not something they can control. They are still far from being able to point fingers at our schools. Many university teachers were laughing coldly, mocking the people from Ares College as if they were looking at lunatics. They completely ignored the demands of this group of people. These bastards. The faces of the teachers from Ares College turned green and white. They were extremely ugly. They were used to being domineering in their own school. They thought that if they shouted, many people would listen to them. However, if any of the schools present lost to them, others might consider it if they said it nicely. But now their attitude was so unyielding, as if they were ordering their own subordinates. Who could stand it? Chapter 427. A few hours later, the super battleship finally arrived at Yanhuang University. Xia Ping also returned to his villa safely. He immediately entered the villa's quiet room and began to cultivate in seclusion. He planned to integrate the Golden Crow of Hell bloodline. He didn't have this condition in the Cloud and Mist Mountains before, but it was very safe back at Yanhuang University, and he wouldn't be disturbed by anyone. System: immediately integrate the Golden Crow of Hell bloodline. Xia Ping sat cross-legged on the ground and said immediately. He was looking forward to how strong he would become after integrating the Golden Crow of Hell. Host: there is a 70% chance of death after integrating the Golden Crow of Hell bloodline. The system said. What? The corner of Xia Ping's mouth twitched. 70% chance of death? System, are you crazy? That's not what you said before. That's because the host didn't ask in detail, so I didn't say much. The system said, after all, this is the bloodline of a divine beast. To completely integrate into the host's body, it must experience great pain and mental torture. Most humans can't bear it. In just a few breaths, even the soul will collapse. Xia Ping was speechless. Do I have to risk a 70% chance of death to accept this bloodline integration? No. The system said, that means that under normal circumstances, there is a 70% chance of death, but if the host spends 5 million hatred points, the risk can be minimized. With the help of the system's energy, all adverse reactions to the host's body can be eliminated. Xia Ping finally understood that the system was clearly greedy for money, but he had just gotten millions of hatred points not long ago, and now he had to spend it all at once, instantly becoming a pauper again. This feeling was really too depressing. But it was impossible for him to give up. After all, this Golden Crow of Hell bloodline couldn't be bought with a mere 5 million hatred points. If he really wanted to buy it, he didn't know how many billions it would cost. Moreover, integrating the Golden Crow of Hell bloodline would greatly increase his aptitude and potential, and it was many times more advanced than treasures like the Water of Life. With a very high starting point, then it would be a matter of course for him to become a king-level powerhouse. He didn't know how many detours he would take, and it could be said to be endless benefits. Okay, spend 5 million hatred points, Xia Ping said in a deep voice. The system said, okay, host, please wait a moment, the Golden Crow of Hell bloodline is about to integrate with the host. Boom, in the blink of an eye, a drop of golden blood the size of a watermelon appeared in the void. This ball of blood emitted a dazzling golden light, just like a sun. Xia Ping could sense that this blob of blood was exuding an aura of nobility, eternity, chaos, grand mist, and so on. It was a supreme existence that reigned above all living beings. He even used his spiritual power to penetrate it and found that there were countless cells in the blood. He estimated that there were hundreds of millions of them, and it was impossible to count them clearly. Every single cell inside seemed to be a huge universe, with countless stars revolving within them. At the core was a sun, emitting a light that had existed since ancient times, shining through the ages. Vaguely, he seemed to see a golden crow of hell lying in the center of the universe. When it spread its wings, it could cover an entire star field. Its eyes were like ancient black holes. The feathers on its body were black. It was a darkness that could not be described with words. Even the evilest filth in the world could not compare to it. Even the most terrifying curse could not compare to it. Even the darkness from the endless abyss could not compare. This was the ultimate power of darkness. Every single feather was made up of energy. Any one of them would burn with black flames when it fell into the void. When it fell, a planet would instantly turn into ashes, and even a black hole would be corroded. A single caw could cause thousands of planets to explode. Just by being in the depths of the universe, it could become an existence that shone through the ages. The black light on its body pierced through every corner of the universe, seeping into the 9 layers of hell. Under such majestic power, Xiaoping could feel how insignificant he was. This was the highest life form in the universe. Even the legendary gods and demons could not compare to it. It's too powerful. Xiaoping's body was trembling. Compared to such a majestic existence, the king-level experts and the heaven-devouring demon venerable were just ants. No wonder it could shine through the 9 layers of hell and become the son of hell. It could be said to be in existence like the lord of gods and demons. With such great power, who could resist it? Voila! At this moment, the ball of blood immediately fused into Xiaoping's body. The billions of cells of the golden crow of hell in the blood fused into every single cell of Xiaoping's, fusing with one another. No, it was not fusing but devouring. The cells of the golden crow of hell were extremely noble. How could they fuse with human cells? They were devouring every single cell in Xiaoping's body, as though they wanted to replace him. Even the soul of a golden crow of hell appeared in the ball of blood. It entered the depths of Xiaoping's mind and cawed, wanting to devour Xiaoping's soul and be reborn. Compared to the highest life form in the universe, the bloodline of humans was simply too weak. Oh no! Xiaoping's eyes flashed coldly. He felt that he was in danger, but for some reason he did not feel afraid at all. Instead, he felt extremely safe. Rumble! At this moment, a mysterious power surged out from the depths of Xiaoping's soul. Mysterious chains broke out from the void like chains of order. Seeing the appearance of these chains, the golden crow of hell was shocked. Fear could be seen in the depths of its eyes. It tried to escape, but it was too late. There was no way it could escape. Arg! Immediately, the soul of the golden crow of hell screamed. The void shook and its body was pierced by the chains. Countless ancient and mysterious inscriptions appeared, forming a terrifying sealing power. Even the cells of the golden crow of hell were pierced by the mysterious chains. It was as though a seal had been imposed on them, trapping them in the depths of the core of every cell in Xiaoping's body. The golden crow of hell screamed and tried to struggle, but it was useless. It was as though the Monkey King had been suppressed by the palm of the Buddha. Faced with this power, it could not resist at all and was suppressed obediently. With the help of this power, Xiaoping immediately felt that the power that wanted to destroy his soul had disappeared. Even the bloodline of the golden crow of hell was rapidly merging into the depths of the core of his cells. At the same time, he activated the pure yang immortal art. A warm energy instantly spread to his limbs. He could feel every corner of his body clearly, no matter how big or small. Even his soul seemed to be resonating with the soul of the golden crow of hell. Strange waves appeared in the void. Traces of golden energy were emitted, strengthening his soul. Chapter 428. Cloud Realm, Silver Wolf City. This was a huge human city, covering an area no less than the capital of Yanhuang Planet's Jianghu district. It had a population of more than 100 million, and its business was extremely prosperous. It was an out-and-out human city. There were many modern high-rise buildings and spaceships in the sky. Countless warriors went in and out of the city, transporting all kinds of resources. The money that flowed through the city every day was simply an astronomical figure. It could be said that this Silver Wolf City was simply overflowing with wealth. However, it was not the federal government that controlled this city, but the Nye family, a king family. They were the owners of this Silver Wolf City and controlled everything here. All the people who lived in this city worked for the Nye family. From this, one could imagine how rich the Nye family was. It was almost as rich as a country. However, this was the horror of a king family and the power of a king realm expert. Once a king realm expert became a king, he could divide the land and establish a human city or even an independent kingdom on any piece of land in the cloud realm. However, not every king realm expert had the ability to build a city. King realm experts who could build a city were basically the strongest among all the king realm experts. This way they could resist the various natural disasters in the cloud realm, resist the endless demon beasts, and forcibly establish a city in the wilderness to build a human paradise. In the center of Silver Wolf City, there was a huge manor with waterfalls, lakes, courtyards, gardens, and all kinds of art. It was incomparably luxurious. This was the residence of the Nye family in Silver Wolf City. At this time, dozens of Nye family elders gathered in a hall of this manor. They stood in the hall, exuding a terrible murderous aura. They were at least in the master realm. At the front of the hall, there was a chair carved from 1,000-year-old yellow pear wood. Both sides of the chair were carved with wolf heads, and the top of the chair was covered with the skin of a king-level demonic beast. A middle-aged man wearing blue training clothes was sitting on the chair. He had long hair, a stone-like face and a third eye on his forehead. Even though he did not say anything and even had his eyes closed, everyone around him could feel the terrifying murderous aura exuding from this middle-aged man. However, the surrounding people could feel the terrifying killing intent emanating from the middle-aged man's body. It was as if the middle-aged man's body was the center, and everything within a radius of 100 miles had become an absolute domain. Their lives were in the hands of this man. As long as he willed it, they would immediately fall to the ground and die. This was a gap that could not be made up for. This middle-aged man was the famous king of the Cloud Realm, also known as the Wolf King Jianghu. After a long time he finally opened his eyes, revealing a terrifying cold light. I heard that Jianghu died in the Cloud Mountain range. What exactly happened? Speak. This shout contained an extremely terrifying rage. If this will was intentionally targeted at an enemy, even a Zhongshe realm expert would be jolted to death immediately, bleeding from the 7 apertures of his head. One had to know that Nie Zhen was one of the descendants he cared about the most. He also believed that Nie Zhen was the future successor of the Nie family. Nie Zhen's future was boundless, and he had spent countless resources on Nie Zhen. After all, the Nie family had many descendants, but not many of them were talented. Descendants who could completely activate their bloodline and open their third eye were as rare as pandas. Even if one appeared, they would be the center of attention. But now he was dead and all the early investments had gone down the drain. For the rich and overbearing Nie family, this was simply an unbearable burden. The losses were far too great. Jianghu was killed. It was said that he was killed by a student called Wu Wudi. Not even his bones were left. An elder stood up, gnashing his teeth in anger. Not even his bones were left? What a good, not even his bones. Nie Zhen shouted angrily, causing the ceiling of the hall to crack. He knew that Nie Zhen was a descendant of the Nie family, a descendant of Nie Wudao, and yet he dared to kill him? He must have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. Bring him out. Bring Wu Wudi out immediately. Execute him by 1,000 cuts and exterminate his entire family. He was so angry that even the waters of 3 rivers could not wash away his anger. But family head. An elder stood up with an ugly expression. After receiving this news, we immediately mobilized the family's power and searched through the student registers of all the universities in the Cloud Realm. We investigated them one by one, but we did not find anyone named Wu Wudi. We suspect that this name is fake, and even his appearance is fake. We won't be able to find out his true identity for the time being. He clenched his fists, feeling very indignant. A descendant of the Nie family had been killed in public, but the identity of the murderer could not be found. If the other sovereign families found out about this, the Nie family would become a laughingstock. Family head, I think this Wu Wudi was premeditated. I reckon he's an enemy of the Nie family. His goal is to eradicate the talented descendants of the Nie family and weaken the Nie family's strength. An elder guessed the identity of the murderer and believed that it was an enemy of the Nie family. After all, the Nie family had offended many people along the way. Moreover, the Wolf King Nie Wudao was tyrannical and had many king-level enemies. These enemies could have done something like this. That's not necessarily true. It could also be a fight over a treasure. Without evidence, no one can prove that it was done by an enemy. Someone refuted. Shut up. Nie Wudao shouted angrily. I don't care who the murderer is. He killed my grandson, so he must pay with his life. Does he think we can't find him just because he changed his appearance and name? That's bullshit. What about his martial arts? What martial arts techniques he's proficient in? What about the cultivation method he cultivates? These things can't be hidden at all. With these clues, how can we not find him? Moreover, the number of people who can kill Jianghu can be counted on one hand among the students. How can we not find such a person? He glared at the many Nie family elders. According to the eyewitness, the murderer who killed Jianghu is proficient in sword techniques. His sword techniques are unparalleled and almost divine. He can compete with Black and White Academy's Qiu Wanwan, an elder said in a low voice. However, the sword technique used by the murderer is unheard of. It can't be found in the entire cloud world. So far, no one knows who knows this sword technique. As for fist techniques, footwork and inner force cultivation methods, the murderer is too strong. Apart from Jianghu, everyone else was killed with a single punch. The surrounding students' knowledge of the martial Dao is shallow. They have no idea what he knows. If there was a king-level expert observing Xia Ping's battle, they might be able to see some clues. However, the students present were merely rookies who had just entered the martial master realm. How could they see the secret? Chapter 429. But what kind of person could kill Zhen? One of the elders still couldn't believe it. Even if Cho Wan of the Black and White Academy and Chang Bin of the Divine God University were able to defeat Zhen with the help of the terrain, it's impossible for them to kill him. He clenched his fists tightly. Defeating and killing were two different concepts. If Nie Zhen wanted to escape, even if a genius like Cho Qianwan had the upper hand, he wouldn't be able to kill him. That's right. Zhen has the three-eyed wolf bloodline. Once he opens his third eye, his strength will soar and he'll be invincible among his peers. Furthermore, he has the treasure bestowed by the family head, the golden light mirror. Once he uses this treasure, he'll be able to match a martial master at the third heaven. Who can be his match? He won't be afraid of being surrounded. Unless he was surrounded by demons. The problem is that according to the witnesses, Zhen was killed in a one-on-one fight. He wasn't surrounded by demons. Many elders of the Nie family discussed. They couldn't believe that Nie Zhen had died. According to Nie Zhen's strength, this trial in the Cloud Mist Mountain range was just an ordinary trial. There was no danger to his life. Furthermore, he also had an extremely precious treasure on him. His strength was above that of many students. It was simply impossible for anyone to kill Nie Zhen. But Nie Zhen had died and even lost his treasure. It was unimaginable how furious they were now. There are two possibilities. An elder's eyes flashed with a cold light. The first possibility is that the killer is a descendant of a king clan. Perhaps he has a grudge against our Nie clan. In order to eliminate our Nie clan's heavens chosen, he brought a powerful treasure with him. As a result, Zhen was caught off guard and was killed. In a battle between experts, life and death are often decided by carelessness. The second possibility is that the murderer is a commoner. He looks very ordinary and weak on the surface. Zhen underestimated him and didn't have his guard up. That's why he didn't choose to escape. However, commoners are not simple either. They might have had a fortuitous encounter, entered an ancient ruin, obtained a shocking martial legacy, or obtained a terrifying treasure, allowing them to soar to the sky. This kind of person hides himself very deeply. He won't easily reveal his trump cards. However, once he is exposed, it will be a world-shaking killing intent. Who knows how many descendants of kings have died in the hands of these commoners? At this point he paused. Of course there's a third possibility. Perhaps Wu Wudi was originally a demon in disguise. He purposely disguised himself as a human to kill Zhen and instigate a war between humans. However, this possibility is very small. Zhen has a third eye, so he should be able to see through the other party's identity. Once he realizes that something is wrong, he will immediately escape. He voiced his conjecture. In other words, we have to focus on two aspects. A white-haired elder stretched out two fingers. One is the descendant of a monarch with astonishing talent, while the other is a commoner genius who suddenly rose to prominence and obtained a fortuitous encounter. Both of them could be Zhen murderer. His eyes revealed a deep murderous intent. Everyone's eyes were filled with sorrow. Their Nie clan's pride had died, becoming a stepping stone for their enemies. This was absolutely intolerable. At this moment, their hearts were filled with terrifying fury. However, we can be sure that the person who killed Zhen must be a student who advanced to the martial mentor realm. A black-clothed elder clenched his fist and said, "We have compiled a list of the students who advanced to the martial master realm in the Cloud Mountain range. There are a total of 23,000 of them. Excluding those with alibis, there are still 8,763 of them. There were many famous students on this list, but there were also many unknown students. Xia Ping was also on this list, but he was very inconspicuous. After all, according to various information, Xia Ping was a new student who had just entered the university and was proficient in fist techniques. He was completely different from the murderer, Wu Wudi, who was proficient in sword techniques. The people of the Nie clan didn't really believe that a freshman who had just entered university could defeat and even kill the Nie clan's favored son of heaven, Nie Zhen. Spread the news of Zhen's death. Let every martial artist in the Cloud Realm know." Invincible Nie clenched his fists and exuded a terrifying murderous intent. "I, Invincible Nie, will offer 500 billion federal coins, a treasure, and a century-old turtle longevity pill as a reward for Wu Wudi's life. As long as anyone can provide any useful clues, as long as anyone can kill Wu Wudi, these rewards will be his. I don't believe that he can escape with such a huge reward. Even if he's from a sovereign clan, there's no guarantee that there aren't people who hate him or are greedy. As long as there's a clue, as long as there's a trace, he's dead for sure. There's nowhere for him to hide. Do you think that I, Invincible Nye, won't be able to find him just because he changed his name and appearance? What a joke. He killed someone from my Nye clan. I'll make him unable to eat or sleep in peace for the rest of his life. He gritted his teeth. 500 billion federal coins, a treasure, and a century-old turtle longevity pill. When the three rewards were mentioned, all the elders of the Nye clan sucked in a breath of cold air. They could see the shock in each other's eyes as well as a trace of desire and madness. Even for a king-level expert, 500 billion federal coins was a huge fortune. Who knew how many years and risks it would take to earn it back? Moreover, although king-level experts could earn a lot, they also had to spend a lot of money. They had to buy elixirs, treasures, weapons, and so on. Which one of them didn't cost an astronomical amount of money? Some king-level experts couldn't even make ends meet and needed to borrow from the bank. A fortune like 500 billion federal coins was enough to tempt some king-level experts. However, 500 billion federal coins was nothing. Only a few king-level experts who were short on money would be tempted. Now, however, there was a treasure. This was an ancient weapon with boundless power. Even a king-level expert would have to pay a huge price to obtain a treasure as a weapon. This wasn't a treasure that could be obtained with money. What made people even crazier was the century-old turtle longevity pill. This was a priceless elixir. Taking one would immediately increase one's lifespan by 100 years. The benefits were endless. For some king-level experts who were about to reach the end of their lifespans, this was no less than a life-saving elixir. In order to obtain such an elixir, those king-level experts would probably risk their lives. Just the temptation for king-level experts was already so terrifying. What about the martial master realm or even master realm experts? How many people would go crazy? They couldn't imagine how big of a wave this news would cause in the sky realm. It would probably be as shocking as a nuclear bomb exploding somewhere 1,000 years ago. Chapter 430. With the Nye family deliberately spreading the news of the reward quickly spread throughout the underground world. Although all the students who entered the Cloud Mist Mountains had signed a life and death contract, which prevented the federal government from pursuing Wu Wuti, it did not mean that the Nye family could not issue a warrant for his arrest. There was light and darkness in this world. Even under the pressure of the federal government, martial artists did not dare to make a move openly. Once there was a video or other evidence that proved that the other party had killed someone, the federal government could pursue him. However, in reality, there was no evidence for most killings, so the federal government could not do anything about it. After all, there were too many grievances between martial artists. Even if the federal government wanted to suppress it, it could not. Hence, it would sometimes turn a blind eye to it. Therefore, many assassin organizations, underworld organizations, and other forces still existed in every corner of the federal government. They were still tenaciously surviving. Crazy, the Nye family has really gone crazy. 500 billion federal coins, a treasured weapon, and a century-old turtle longevity pill, just to kill a martial master realm junior. Isn't this crazy? The reward is too exaggerated. It's unbelievable. I don't think the Nye family would dare to say such things to trick us. Otherwise, even the Nye family would be hurt after offending so many of us. They're not that stupid. Who wouldn't be tempted by such a reward? Even a king-level expert would come personally. That Wu Wuti is really pitiful. He's dead this time. I reckon that in less than 3 days he will be found by all the major forces and die a horrible death. Looks like the Wolf King Nye Wudao is really angry. Otherwise, why would he be willing to take out such a treasure? No matter what, if I can kill Wu Wuti this time I'll be rich. It's equivalent to a fortuitous encounter. Many martial artists discussed the news. They were extremely shocked by the Nye family's reward. No matter which one it was enough to make countless martial artists go crazy. It was not an exaggeration to say that once one obtained such a reward, they would be able to soar to the sky. As the news spread, students from all over the world quickly learned of this matter. TSK, that's amazing. The Nye family is really generous. It's really generous. The entire internet is boiling over. Once the character is completed, he will immediately obtain many treasures. This is simply unheard of. I wonder who will be able to kill Wu Wuti and obtain the treasures provided by the Nye family. If I get it, then I'll be rich. Many students from various universities in the Cloud Realm began to talk about it. They all stared at the rewards with great desire, wishing they could immediately take them for themselves. 4 ordinary students, a mere 100 million federal coins was already an astronomical number, but now there was a total of 500 billion. This was simply an unimaginable number. Even though they were born into powerful clans and some were even descendants of kings, it was impossible for them to possess such astonishing wealth. After all, in a clan there were many businesses and a large population. On average, the benefits that each descendant received could be counted with one's fingers. Therefore, if they could obtain the reward from the Nye family, they would definitely be rich. They would no longer have to worry about cultivation resources in the future. At this time, at the headquarters of an assassin organization, TSK, 500 billion Federation coins, a prized artifact and a 100-year longevity pill. Such a reward is truly astonishing. Only a colossus like the Nye family would be able to fork out so much money. After all, they occupy a huge city and are the lord of a city. They control countless resources, so it's not strange for them to produce so much money. Let's accept this mission. If we can kill that Wu Wudi, our assassin organization will be able to expand rapidly. We won't even know how many times we've expanded. This mission isn't about who is stronger, but who has the best information. Whoever finds Wu Wudi first will be the winner. Many assassins discussed among themselves. Their eyes were filled with incomparable desire. Every reward on the list was enough for them to fight to the death. If they obtained these rewards, they could immediately quit and no longer be assassins. This was an extremely dangerous reward that could change their lives. Each assassin was filled with a murderous aura, and a cold glint flashed in their eyes. Now, no one could stop their determination to kill Wu Wudi. That brat would definitely die. In the depths of a cave in savage forest, a gray-robed elder sat cross-legged on the ground. His body was covered in dust, and with his body as the center, it seemed to form a terrifying domain. The entire cave was buzzing and shaking. There seemed to be distorted energy fluctuations in the air. This was a king-level expert. However, this gray-robed elder seemed to be old and clumsy, like a piece of wood that was about to wither. At this moment, the gray-robed elder turned on his communicator and browsed through all kinds of information. Soon he found a wanted poster for Wu Wudi. What? A 100-year turtle longevity pill? That Wolf King Nye Wudao is actually willing to take out such a precious pill? The gray-robed elder immediately became excited and his face turned red. If I can obtain this 100-year turtle longevity pill, I will immediately gain 100 years of life. When that time comes, it will be more than enough to break through my current bottleneck. Kill him. I must kill Wu Wudi and obtain the 100-year turtle longevity pill. His eyes revealed a deep murderous intent. Right now his lifespan was coming to an end. If he could not break through, he would soon die of old age and turn into a pile of white bones, completely rotting. However, if he obtained the 100-year turtle longevity pill and consumed it, it would immediately increase his lifespan by 100 years. With enough time, breaking through the bottleneck would not be a difficult task. With a bang, he broke out of the cave and directly left. At this time, every corner of the cloud world was shaken by the news spread by the Nye family. A large number of experts and martial arts organizations went completely crazy. They could not sit still at all. Some were students, some were assassins, and some were king-level experts who were about to die. There were also some small martial arts organizations. They all went crazy when they heard the news. Although these martial arts organizations were far inferior to the Nye family individually, if all of them were added up, they would be many times more powerful than the Nye family. Moreover, to kill Wu Wudi, one did not rely on martial arts but on intelligence. Whoever found Wu Wudi's whereabouts first would be rewarded by the Nye family. Therefore, even some small martial arts organizations and scattered soldiers believed that they had a chance to complete the task and obtain the reward provided by the Nye family. Chapter 431. Boom. Xiaoping slowly opened his eyes. The energy on the surface of his body vibrated, and the eggshell around him immediately shattered. Dense cracks appeared on the eggshell and it fell to the ground, creating a deep pit. Did the fusion succeed? Xiaoping felt that the aura and strength of his body had changed dramatically from before. His strength was at least 5 or 6 times stronger, and the muscle density of his body was more than 10 times stronger. He estimated that even if an ordinary sword hit his body, it would not be able to hurt him much. He already had a trace of the invincible Vajra body. Even the spiritual ether in his body was tainted with a trace of black aura. The spiritual ether flowed around his meridians, like lava flowing around his body, containing a terrifying destructive power. At the same time, he also discovered that while he was asleep, his body had already opened up 12 meridians. The spiritual ether was endless, and the 12 meridians formed a small spiritual ether cycle. He had reached the peak of the first heaven of martial master realm. What's going on? Although I feel much stronger than before, it is a little different from what I imagined. It doesn't seem to be unbelievably strong. Xiaoping's eyes flashed. As if sensing Xiaoping's thoughts, the system replied, "This is normal imagination. The energy contained in the golden crow of hell's bloodline is too great. If the host were to absorb it all at once, he would definitely be blown into ashes." Therefore, the system sealed the golden crow of hell's bloodline in the host's body. When the host's martial cultivation improves, part of the seal will be released, allowing the golden crow of hell cells to leak out. Then the host can use the spiritual ether to completely refine the golden crow of hell cells and integrate them into his body. In the future, when the host's martial cultivation reaches an extremely high level, he will be able to completely refine the golden crow of hell's bloodline, integrate it into his body and control it completely. It explained why it had become like this. I see. Xiaoping indicated that he understood. Refining the golden crow of hell's bloodline was a long-term project, and the best way was to do it step by step. If he were to absorb and refine it all at once, the human body would not be able to withstand it. However, as his martial cultivation grew stronger, his body would become stronger. Then he would be able to easily refine the golden crow of hell's bloodline. This method could be said to be safe and efficient. This feeling? Xiaoping closed his eyes and immersed his mind into it. He circulated the pure yang immortal art, wanting to familiarize himself with his new body. Suddenly, he felt as if there was a golden crow of hell residing in his body. Every cell in his body seemed to have a small golden crow living in the depths of its core. They were like small suns containing eternal energy. He was able to unleash great power with every move he made. Once he refined all the energy in these cells, he would most likely become the true golden crow of hell, ruling over all living beings in the world. Crush. Xiaoping revolved the true essence within his body, causing it to flow through his meridians. As this true essence flowed, it seemed to faintly form the shape of a golden crow of hell, exuding an ancient, mysterious, grand mist, chaotic and hellish aura. This aura permeated the surroundings, shooting straight into the clouds and causing space to tremble. Rumble. At that moment, the entire world seemed to tremble. A huge dark cloud floated in the sky, almost enveloping an area with a radius of 1,000 miles. It was gloomy, even the sun in the sky was covered, not letting a single ray of sunlight leak through. The entire land was plunged into darkness. What's going on? Many students of Yanhuang University immediately noticed this scene, and they all cried out in shock because this scene was simply too terrifying and bizarre. It was worth noting that with the advancement of technology, the ability to predict the weather was extremely accurate, with a success rate of 98%. It was basically impossible for the weather to suddenly turn gloomy like this. Some weather observers of Yanhuang University were also shocked, having no idea what was going on. The hair of some of the king-level experts stood on end as they sensed an extremely dangerous aura. There was a huge black cloud in the sky, which seemed to contain terrifying red lightning. It was as if a thunder god was living in the depths of the black cloud. A crack appeared in the void as if the void had split open, and chaotic lightning seeped out from the depths, causing countless king-level experts to tremble, as if a great disaster was about to happen. As the person involved, Xiaoping felt even more terror descend upon his body, as if there was an inexplicable existence in the sky staring at him, wanting to send lightning down and completely destroy him. It was as if he was the filth of this world and it was going to be completely cleaned. System, what happened? Xiaoping instinctively felt that this was definitely the system's doing. Otherwise, with his own strength, there was no way he could have caused such a huge impression. Host, this is the wrath of heaven. The system said, the golden crow of hell bloodline in the host's body is a powerful bloodline that does not belong to this world. It is too powerful, almost threatening the balance of this world. Therefore, the laws of this world want to completely wipe out this bloodline, and they want to send down lightning to destroy the host. What? Xiaoping's mouth twitched. He already knew that fusing with such a powerful bloodline was definitely not a good thing, but now it actually attracted the hostility of the laws, wanting to destroy him. But the host does not need to worry. The system said, right now the host's strength is too weak, and the laws of this world will not treat the host as a great enemy. It will only send down the power of ordinary lightning. And most importantly, as the host's strength continues to grow, The aura of the golden crow of hell will continue to leak out, and the host will continuously receive the baptism of this world's lightning. However, once the host passes the lightning tribulation, the host will be recognized by the laws of this world, and there will be many benefits. Continuously receive the baptism of the world's lightning? Xiaoping was speechless. Didn't that mean that every time he advanced to a new realm, he would be attacked by lightning, and even the heavens wanted to strike him to death? It was fine if he passed the lightning tribulation, but what if he didn't? Wouldn't he die immediately? Rumble, but now was not the time for him to complain. The huge dark clouds in the sky churned like a real dragon turning over. Terrifying red lightning brewed, and a terrifying aura of destruction spread in the surroundings. At this moment, the entire Yanhuang University was greatly shaken. Countless students felt as if they had encountered a disaster, and if they were not careful, they would immediately be killed by the lightning. Boom. At this moment, the lightning power in the dark clouds in the sky seemed to have been brewed to the extreme. Immediately, a red lightning bolt as thick as a bucket descended from the sky. Chapter 432. Boom. When the red lightning descended, it was like the roar of a thunder god, wanting to completely annihilate Xiaoping. However, at that moment, the entire Yanhuang University's defense system was immediately activated. A huge transparent energy shield rose up and instantly enveloped Yanhuang University in all directions, protecting the entire area like an eggshell. With a bang, the red lightning smashed under the transparent energy shield. A terrifying destructive power erupted, attempting to penetrate the energy shield and attack Xiaoping. However, it was still blocked by the energy shield. Right, there's Yanhuang University's defense system here. Those lightning bolts can't hurt me. Seeing this, Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He suddenly remembered that he was in Yanhuang University. Yanhuang University was known as one of the elite cities in the human world. In order to build this city, who knew how much advanced technology had been used? It would not be an exaggeration to say that this city was the essence of technology. Even if all the powerhouses of the demon race came out, it would be impossible to capture this place in a short time. Its defense system was enough to withstand countless natural disasters. However, such an energy blockade seemed to have angered the heavens. Terrifying black clouds surged as if the thunder god was angry. It thought that the sinner had helpers and tried to protect him. This was a serious crime. Dong dong dong. In an instant, 3 red lightning bolts fell from the sky. They were as thick as buckets and extremely crazy. They smashed fiercely above Xiaoping's villa, wanting to completely penetrate the energy shield. However, it was useless. The defense of the energy shield was extremely strong. A mere 3 red lightning bolts could not penetrate it at all. They were easily offset and destroyed in the sky. However, this was just the beginning. In a breath's time, 6 red lightning bolts fell, followed by 9, 18, and 27. In the sky, countless lightning bolts danced like lightning snakes, containing a destructive aura that covered an area of Xiaoping's villa. Bang bang bang. Immediately, these lightning bolts collided with the energy shield. After millions of vibrations, even atoms were shattered into pieces. An earth-shattering explosion erupted like a nuclear bomb. The surrounding energy of heaven and earth was chaotic, forming a huge vortex that spread in all directions. It affected the major buildings of Yanhuang University, shattering countless glasses and making crackling sounds. Many Yanhuang University students were immediately shocked. Because the area covered by the lightning was near Xiaoping's villa, which was also the ordinary student dormitory area, it naturally caused countless students to panic. What's going on? Why is there lightning in the sky attacking Yanhuang University? This is a natural disaster. Nothing like this has happened in the past hundreds of years. Why is it happening today? This is too strange. Everyone look, isn't the direction of the lightning attack the villa of the scourge Xiaoping? Holy shit, is true. The lightning in the sky doesn't strike other places, but it specifically strikes this kid's area. It can't be, could it be that these red thunderbolts were caused by that shit stirrer Xiaoping? He was struck by lightning? The heavens have eyes, the heavens have eyes. That shameless Xiaoping has done too many evil things. Now, even the heavens are furious and want to send down lightning to deal with this evil scourge. Haha, serves him right. This Xiaoping deserves it. What he did was too immoral, causing the heavens to be angry and the people to resent him. Even the heavens couldn't stand it and wanted to send down lightning to strike him to death. The heavens must have heard the prayers in my heart and sent down lightning to completely eliminate this 1,000-year scourge. Tomorrow I will go burn incense and pray to the heavens. Many students were discussing. They were all extremely excited as they watched the area where Xiaoping's villa was covered by countless thunderbolts. It was filled with a destructive aura that wanted to completely destroy Xiaoping. This kind of power, even if one was one step closer, would tear a martial artist into pieces. Many students retreated one after another and didn't dare to approach that area at all. A group of students who had enmity with Xiaoping were in an extremely good mood. Although they couldn't kill Xiaoping, it might not be a bad thing if they could use the hands of the heavens to kill Xiaoping. They were looking forward to the appearance of Xiaoping being struck by lightning into charcoal. This matter was too big. Not only did it shock countless students, but it also alarmed the higher-ups of the school. What's going on? Red thunderbolts appeared in the sky and attacked an area of students. The power of this red thunderbolt is too terrifying. It has the power to kill a king-level expert. Quickly resist and increase the energy to resist. Otherwise, if these thunderbolts fall, they can destroy an area and cause countless deaths and injuries. It's really strange. How did these red thunderbolts appear? For hundreds of years, there hasn't been any strange weather phenomenon in this area, but now it has appeared. These red thunderbolts seem to be targeting a certain area of students. Go and take a look immediately. What's going on? Elders appeared one after another, all of them emitting extremely terrifying auras. With their bodies as the center, a terrifying domain spread out. They were all king-level experts. Originally, they were all cultivating in seclusion in the depths of Yanhuang University, but they were also awakened by the terrifying thunderbolts. They all broke out of their seclusion and looked at the huge dark clouds in the sky. Feeling the destructive energy contained in the dark clouds, all of them felt their hearts palpitate. Even though they had advanced to the king level, they still felt great respect for the heaven's might. At this moment, the dark clouds in the sky seemed to be even more furious. The descending thunderbolts were continuously blocked, which made even the heavens angry. The void cracked open and it seemed like a black wormhole had appeared. 36 thunderbolts, 45 thunderbolts, 54 thunderbolts, and so on. Countless red thunderbolts fell like thousands of missiles exploding, bombarding Xiaoping's villa. Even though Yanhuang University's defense system was extremely powerful, it was now on the verge of collapse from the bombardment. Its energy was constantly being weakened, and there seemed to be only a thin layer of white paper left. Damn it, system, didn't you say that only a trace of aura leaked out so the power of the thunderbolts was very small? Why is it so terrifying now? Even if a king-level expert was here, he would probably be struck to death. The corner of Xiaoping's mouth twitched. He felt that under these thunderbolts, he was as weak as an ant. If it wasn't for Yanhuang University's defense system, he would probably have been struck to death. Because this is the first heavenly retribution, its power will be unprecedentedly great, the system said. Moreover, there's also Yanhuang University's defense system, which angered the heavens. They felt that someone was in the way, so the power of the heavenly retribution increased by more than 10,000 times. In fact, if the host was in the wild, without Yanhuang University's defense system in the way, it would be impossible for such a powerful heavenly retribution to appear by relying on the host's own strength. Host, be careful. If I'm not wrong, there will be another 81 thunderbolts erupting at the same time. If the host can endure it, the host will be fine this time. What? Chapter 433. Rumble. The moment the system notification appeared, dark clouds rolled in the sky, and terrifying energy boiled. 81 red thunderbolts instantly fell from the sky. Each bolt of red lightning was as thick as a water bucket. They were like flood dragons and contained an aura that could destroy heaven and earth. They bombarded the area Xiaoping was in. Even a normal king would be blasted into smithereens by the power of this lightning. At this moment, the energy shield of Yanhuang University immediately lit up. In an instant, dozens of layers of defense were set up in the sky, trying to block the red thunderbolts. Bang, bang, bang. The red thunderbolts immediately exploded and collided with the energy shield. It was like a battle between thousands of martial arts masters. The explosion was earth-shattering, and the surrounding air was filled with billowing airflow, sweeping in all directions. With Xiaoping's villa as the center, ripples that could be seen with the naked eye immediately gushed out. Hundreds of cracks immediately appeared on the ground, and buildings were split in half, with gravel flying everywhere. With a cracking sound, when all 81 red thunderbolts fell, the terrifying destructive power exploded. The transparent energy shield in the sky finally could not withstand it and was torn apart. It was like glass shattering. Pieces of the energy shield appeared, and a red thunderbolt penetrated it, falling toward Xiaoping's body in an instant. The top of the villa was immediately pierced by the terrifying power, and gravel rolled down. Dong. Xiaoping was caught off guard and was hit by the red thunderbolt. His body crackled as if millions of volts of electricity had passed through it, and the air was filled with a burning smell. Even the ground was hit by the thunderbolt, and a huge pit immediately appeared. The soil on the ground seemed to have been passed through by the electric current, and was completely charred, melting into the shape of glass. Pure young immortal art, only I can't be destroyed, pure young dragon. Xiaoping instinctively operated the pure young immortal art in his body, and the spiritual ether in his body surged crazily, as if it had condensed into a pure young dragon. The red thunderbolts descended like the god of destruction, wandering through Xiaoping's limbs and bones. It was as if thousands of thunder dragons were roaring, completely destroying every cell in his body. However, when Xiaoping operated the pure young immortal art, the spiritual ether in his body went crazy, condensing into a pure young dragon and fiercely pounced forward, devouring these thunder dragons. Whoosh! Xiaoping could feel his body being struck by the red lightning. After being baptized by the lightning and thoroughly tempered, his muscles, bones and meridians seemed to have become much stronger. Due to the lightning flood dragon swimming around, his meridians expanded continuously, doubling the size of his meridians and allowing them to contain more veritable essence energy. In that instant, Xiaoping felt that one of the infernal golden crow cells in his body seemed to have awakened. Then it was rapidly refined by his body's true essence, completely transforming into the source of life. Bang! His body was violently shaken, and boundless true essence surged through his meridians. Finally, the 13th meridian was connected, and a massive amount of true essence rumbled like a surging river. Second heaven of the martial master realm. Xiaoping could feel that his body's strength and speed had greatly increased, and the Zhenyuan within his body had also increased by a lot. A faint shadow of a golden crow of hell appeared behind him. The surface of his body seemed to be surrounded by a dark red flame, and the ground around his feet was also burned by this flame. Even the hard rocks were burned into magma at this moment. Water vapor rose and filled the surroundings. It was like staying in hell. Have I finally passed the thunder retribution? A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. He raised his head and looked through a large hole in the ceiling of the villa. He could clearly see a huge dark cloud in the sky. At this moment, the dark cloud was no longer rolling, and a crack in the void in the depths seemed to have disappeared. The terrifying lightning power had completely disappeared between heaven and earth. It seemed that the last 81 red lightning bolts had finally exhausted the energy of the divine retribution, and the dangerous aura in the sky had also disappeared completely. In a few breaths, even the dark clouds in the sky quickly dissipated, and the original clear sky was restored. The surroundings were filled with fresh air, and it was refreshing. If it wasn't for the ruins around them and the cracks on the ground, as if it had been destroyed by a typhoon, people might have thought that nothing had happened. Fortunately, Yanhuang University's defense system blocked the red lightning. Otherwise, it would have been a disaster today. However, after the baptism of the lightning, I have gained a lot of benefits. Xiaoping clenched his fists. He could feel that after the baptism of the lightning, his body's strength and toughness had increased a lot, and his energy center had even absorbed a bit of the lightning power. After looking inside himself, he could vaguely see that there were lightning dragons swimming in the depths of his energy center, and it seemed to have resonated with the power of the lightning in the sky. If he continued to cultivate, he might be able to control the power of lightning. When that time came, it would be much easier for him to deal with the divine retribution again. This feeling? Xiaoping activated the incantation in his body. He suddenly had a thought. A golden crow of hell cell had awakened in his body, and it was absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. He infused all the true essence in his body, and the cell immediately devoured it like a whale. It was like a black hole, absorbing everything cleanly. There was no limit at all. The aura on his body was also rapidly decreasing, from the martial master realm to the martial warrior realm, the martial disciple realm, and then to the ordinary person. It was as if he had never cultivated martial arts before, and he was extremely weak. On the surface it seemed so. However, in reality Xiaoping felt that his strength still existed. It was just that the true essence in his body was contained in the golden crow of hell cell. If he needed it, he could mobilize it at any time. Moreover, this power could be unleashed in an instant, and it was enough to shake mountains. That's amazing. If I put all the true essence in my body into the golden crow of hell cell and hide my aura, even a challenger would not be able to find out my background. Xia Ping clenched his fists, and there was a glimmer of excitement in his eyes. From another perspective, this was simply the most brilliant aura-concealing technique, and he had cultivated it to an extremely high level. If an enemy saw him in this state, they would recklessly come to seek death. Then, when the time came, he would catch them off guard, and he would definitely be able to kill the careless enemy. He was a tiger in disguise. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, more than a dozen figures flew in the sky above the villa. All of them emitted an aura that was as deep as the abyss, as if they were gods walking in the air. All the cells in Xia Ping's body tensed up, as if he was facing a formidable enemy. He immediately knew that these figures were challenger powerhouses. Chapter 434. Who are you people? Xia Ping took the initiative and stared at these old men. We're all guardian elders of Jianghu University. We're here to investigate the incident regarding the lightning phenomenon, an old man in black said immediately, revealing his identity. Young man. The one who spoke was an old man in gray. He had a cunning look on his face as he looked at Xia Ping with a smile. Let me ask you directly. Did you cause the lightning phenomenon just now? The group of old men stared at Xia Ping, not letting go of his every move. If the terrifying phenomenon just now was caused by this young man, then the reason behind it was worth investigating. They had to find out. After all, such a strange and terrifying phenomenon would even make kings feel afraid. If they did not know the reason, they would not be able to eat or sleep in peace. No, it's not. Hearing these words, Xia Ping denied it flatly. I was cultivating at home and I don't know why I was struck by lightning. I don't even know who I can complain to. He showed a wronged expression, feeling very innocent. Without a doubt, if he admitted that he was the one who caused the heavenly punishment just now, it would definitely cause big trouble. He might even be captured and dissected for research. Therefore, he firmly denied that this matter had anything to do with him. Young man, don't lie. Jianghu University is so big, but why didn't the lightning strike anywhere else but you? No one will believe you even if you say you have nothing to do with this matter, an old man in green said doubtfully. All of them were old fellows, and they'd experienced countless schemes and plots in order to advance into the king realm. So, they could be said to be shrewd with age. It was impossible to dispel the doubts in their hearts with just one sentence from Xia Ping. How would I know? Xia Ping spread his hands. You're asking me? I'm the one who wants to ask the heavens. Why didn't they strike anyone but me? Do I have a grudge against that bastard heavens? That's too unreasonable. He would never admit that this matter had anything to do with him. As long as he denied it, even if the higher-ups of Jianghu University had doubts, they could not do anything to him. They would not be able to find any evidence at all. What do you guys think? This kid really doesn't seem to know anything. A black-robed elder secretly transmitted his voice. The air trembled and his voice was transmitted to the ears of the surrounding elders. However, Xia Ping didn't hear anything. This was a unique technique. Not necessarily. Maybe this kid is just pretending. But this kid is just a new student. It's impossible for him to attract the wrath of the heavens. That's right. Even a king might not be able to trigger such a divine punishment. Perhaps it was just a coincidence that the lightning struck his room. How could there be so many coincidences? I, on the other hand, feel that this matter must be closely related to this kid. That makes sense. This brat is only a martial master, but he did not turn to ashes after being baptized by lightning. No matter how I think about it, it is strange. Why don't we check his body and see what's wrong with him? That's fine. I'll find an excuse to check his body. Maybe I'll find something. If this brat was the one who triggered the divine retribution, then his body must be hiding some secrets. Many old men secretly transmitted their voices and decided on a countermeasure in a few words. Young man. At this point, the black-robed elder said, You were attacked by lightning just now. Perhaps your body has suffered irrecoverable injuries. If you don't treat it in time, it might leave a hidden danger. Why don't you let me check your body and see what's wrong with it? We can find some countermeasures in time. Hearing this, Xia Ping gave them a sidelong glance and said in disdain, Check my ass. I don't know anything about my body. It can't be any better. It would be easy for me to kill a few ferocious tigers. You guys said so much just to find an excuse to check my body and see if it has anything to do with this divine retribution. Are you guys suspecting me? He exposed the purpose of these people without any hesitation. The black-robed elder and the others were speechless. They originally wanted to put forward their ideas tactfully, but they didn't expect this kid to not give them any face and expose them directly. Young man, don't be so impulsive. We have our reasons for suspecting you. The green-robed elder said, the lightning in the sky didn't strike anyone but you. It's like divine retribution. Perhaps you've cultivated some sort of evil cultivation technique that caused the heavens to be infuriated and send down lightning. At this point, he didn't conceal it any longer and directly spoke of the guesses in his heart. The other old men nodded as well. An evil cultivation technique? You think I've cultivated some sort of evil cultivation technique just because of this guess? How laughable. Xiaoping cried out. All right, I won't resist and allow all of you to check my body. But let me make it clear first. If all of you can't find anything, then how will you compensate me? Compensate you? The black-robed elder and the others were stunned. They'd never expected that Xiaoping would actually speak like this. After all, they were king realm experts that were supreme existences that were feared by countless people. They were existences that could split the world apart and become kings. If anyone dared to ask them to compensate them, then that person would be tired of living. But this kid wasn't afraid at all, and he even wanted them to compensate him. It was like they owed this kid a few million and hadn't paid him back. His attitude was boundlessly arrogant. Who exactly is a king realm expert now? Of course I have to compensate you. Xiaoping spoke as a matter of course. All of you frequently check my body and suspect me. If news of this matter were to spread, then my reputation would be completely ruined. Everyone would say that I've cultivated an evil cultivation technique that drew the wrath of the heavens. Would I be able to meet others in the future? Would anyone look up to me when I go out? If news of this matter were to spread back to my hometown, would my parents still be able to hold their heads up high? I was already unlucky enough to be a victim. I was cultivating at home when I was struck by lightning for no reason and almost suffered chi deviation. My foundation in the martial Tao was completely destroyed. What about all of you? All of you barged into my house and shouted to kill me. You said that I was the culprit behind this calamity and that I've cultivated some sort of evil cultivation technique. You casually accused and slandered me, and it brought me great mental harm. Now tell me, is it too much for me to ask for compensation and compensation for mental harm? He spoke boldly and confidently. The black-robed elder and the others were speechless. Even though they knew that this fellow was speaking nonsense and trying to distort the truth, they didn't know why, but they actually felt that it wasn't too much for this kid to ask for compensation. Chapter 435. What's wrong? Say something. Everyone is speechless. Aren't you guardian elders very good at talking? Are you good at slandering others? Xiaoping was unforgiving. The faces of the black-clothed old man and the others darkened. They wanted to seal this guy's big mouth. They had never seen such a talkative young man. Okay, if we confirm that this matter has nothing to do with you, then we will immediately compensate you. The black-clothed old man could not take it anymore and immediately agreed to Xiaoping's conditions. In short, they immediately sealed this guy's mouth. If they let this guy continue to speak, they might be angered to death here. All right, said Xiaoping. Remember your words. You're protector elders, so don't say them like they're just farts. Once you let them out, they'll be gone. Your teeth can be used like gold. Do it. The black-clothed old man could not stand this guy's words anymore and immediately took action. With a swoosh, before Xiaoping could say anything, 5 or 6 old men immediately took action. A mysterious and tyrannical aura immediately penetrated into Xiaoping's internal organs and meridians. Their aura poured into Xiaoping's body and began to carefully explore. Like a dragon, it swam in the depths of his meridians trying to find something fishy. Xiaoping did not struggle. He also knew that if these old men did not explore him, he was afraid that this matter would not end. However, he had awakened a hell golden crow cell before, which could hide his body's genuine vitality in the depths of his cells, concealing all kinds of strange things about his genuine vitality. No matter how these old men explored his body, they could not find anything fishy about his body. Oh my God, what a wide meridian. Just as he began to explore, a black-clothed old man could not help but exclaim. He could not believe his eyes and looked at Xiaoping. This was because he felt that Xiaoping's meridians were really too wide. If an ordinary martial artist's meridians were like a narrow path, then Xiaoping's meridians were like a highway. In this way, the genuine vitality that Xiaoping could contain was probably more than several times that of an ordinary martial artist. This guy is only 18 years old. He has just entered Yanhuang University, but he has actually advanced to the second heaven of the martial master realm and opened 13 minor meridians. Furthermore, his foundation is solid and there are no hidden dangers left behind. The other gray-robed old man was also shocked by Xiaoping's cultivation speed. He was dumbfounded as he sensed the boundless Zhenyuan in Xiaoping's body. One should know that it was not surprising that one could cultivate quickly. There were countless treasures in the cloud realm, and many descendants of kings had a large amount of resources. They could casually consume a precious spirit herb and advance quickly. The problem was that one's cultivation in the martial Tao that relied on consuming pills to advance wasn't solid. Usually, one would fall into a bottleneck upon arriving at a certain realm of cultivation, and it would be very difficult for one to advance into the king realm throughout one's lifetime. But this kid was different. Even if his cultivation speed was extremely fast, his martial arts foundation was unimaginably solid, even to the extent that he was shocked. Genius, he's definitely a peerless genius. His meridians are naturally wide and his quintessence is very dense, far surpassing that of a regular martial master. No wonder he could withstand the lightning. His foundation in the martial Tao is inconceivably solid. If he continues like this, then he'll have an extremely high chance of advancing to the king realm. The few old men who had probed Xiaoping couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. They looked at Xiaoping as if they were looking at a fine piece of jade. Their eyes were burning with passion. They exclaimed in their hearts. Although this young man had been chattering and had a bad mouth, his talent was not fake. He was a peerless genius with the qualifications of a king. This feeling? Xiaoping's eyes flashed. He felt the energy from the black-robed old man and the others flowing into his body, and he immediately sensed a high-level energy flowing in his body. This energy was many times stronger than Zhenyuan. It seemed to have fused with his spiritual power and had undergone an extremely mysterious transformation. It was extremely tyrannical and mysterious. He instinctively felt that this might be the secret behind why king-level experts were so powerful. He could observe it just by looking at this mysterious energy. After a few breaths, the black-robed old man and the others stopped probing and left Xiaoping's body. Even if it was only a few breaths, it was enough for them to clearly explore Xiaoping's body. Their eyes flickered, and they seemed to be in a state of deep thought. What's wrong? Did you find anything fishy? Did this kid cultivate some kind of demonic cultivation method that provoked the wrath of heaven? An old man secretly transmitted his voice. No, not only did this kid not cultivate any demonic cultivation method, but he also cultivated the most orthodox cultivation method. His martial arts foundation is unbelievably solid. It's incredible. Yeah, if this kind of cultivation method was demonic, there wouldn't be any orthodox cultivation methods in the world. He's able to resist the power of lightning because of his innate talent. There is no doubt that he is a peerless genius. The few old men said in a deep voice. So powerful? The others' eyes also flickered. They didn't expect the black-robed old man and the others to have such a high evaluation of Xiaoping. The black-robed old man said in a deep voice, "It has already proved that this kid is not fishy. Maybe we really blamed this student wrongly. This matter was not caused by him. It was just a coincidence. There are countless secrets in the cloud realm. Even now, we humans have not successfully explored all the mysteries. Although it is rare for lightning to fall from the sky, it is not impossible. Maybe it is just a natural phenomenon. There is no need to make a fuss." Hearing this, the other old men nodded. Since the black-robed old man said so, the other old men didn't have any objections. They guessed that it was the truth. They were also very confident in their own strength. A mere martial master wanted to hide any secrets in front of a king. It was simply a fantasy. Elders, now that you have finished your investigation, may I ask if I have cultivated some demonic cultivation method? Am I the culprit that triggered the wrath of heaven? Xiaoping immediately shouted. Being stared at by Xiaoping in such a manner, the black-clothed old man's face immediately turned red. He coughed and said, About that, a few of us have checked earlier. It is true that you do not practice any demonic cultivation method." He was very unwilling, but he had to admit that Xiaoping had nothing to do with this matter. As a king, his dignity did not allow him to lie. "What about compensation? May I ask where the compensation is? Don't tell me that your words are like farts?" Xiaoping was not polite at all. What the hell? The group of protectors and elders' faces darkened. The corners of their mouths twitched. They resisted the urge to beat this bastard up. All right. Chapter 436. What? Hearing the black-clothed old man's words, the others were shocked and looked at him in disbelief. Are you crazy? Someone next to him secretly said, this marrow-cleansing pill is made from 81 precious pills. The main ingredient is the heart of a king-level demonic beast. After taking it, although it won't increase your cultivation by much, it can make you reborn, improve your aptitude and break through bottlenecks. You don't know how precious this pill is. It's worth more than 1,000,000 points. You took it out now. The other old men couldn't help but nod. Although this kind of pill wasn't very beneficial to king-level demonic beasts like them, they had many descendants who needed this kind of marrow-cleansing pill. However, this kind of pill was extremely difficult to make. Every pill was priceless and many people wanted to have it. Previously they had asked the black-clothed old man for it, but they were all rejected. Now he was giving it to this young man as compensation. It was too extravagant. It's okay. This young man has extraordinary talent. He is qualified to take this pill. The black-clothed old man smiled. He didn't care, but everyone around knew that he was appreciative of Xiaoping's talent. If he didn't think Xiaoping was a promising talent, he would never take out this kind of pill. Xiaoping rolled his eyes. Although he couldn't hear the old man's words, he could tell from the looks of the people around him that this bottle of pill was very precious. He stretched out his hand and immediately grabbed the bottle of pills. Without any trace of politeness he said, "Elder, thank you. I will reluctantly accept this compensation." This cunning young man. The black-clothed old man was stunned. He didn't expect Xiaoping to act so quickly. It was like he was a thief. But then he smiled and didn't think much of it. He just thought that Xiaoping was indeed clever. Forget it. Let's leave it at that. He waved his hand and wanted to leave with the group of people. Since it was proven that Xiaoping had nothing to do with this matter, there was no need for them to stay. All right. Before the black-clothed old man left, Xiaoping shouted, "This villa has a big hole in it. I didn't do it. It was a natural disaster. It was an accident. Will the school pay for this?" He also wanted the black-clothed old man to pay for the repair of the villa. Go to the academic affairs office. The black-robed old man's face darkened. Xiaoping's words almost caused him to stagger. He waved his hand and the corner of his mouth twitched a little. He didn't stop and walked away, afraid that Xiaoping would catch him again and ask for more compensation. This kind of back view gave off the feeling that he was in a panic and didn't know where to go. The others sped up as well and left swiftly. They could be said to be afraid of this shameless kid because he was the first person amongst the students of Yanhuang University to dare to extort money from a king realm expert right in front of their faces. A few minutes later, these protector elders quickly left, leaving only Xiaoping alone in the huge villa. Primordial marrow cleansing pill? I've gained a lot this time. Xiaoping opened the white porcelain bottle and immediately saw a round golden pill that emitted a dense medicinal aura. He immediately knew that this pill was definitely not simple. Its value probably surpassed the mysterious Yin pill and other pills he had obtained before. It was definitely the kind that was priceless. He didn't expect that he would really be able to extort it from these protector elders. He was really lucky. But I didn't expect to be able to hide from the detection of a king realm expert and hide the true essence on my body without a trace. It's really amazing. It's worthy of the golden crow of hell bloodline. Xiaoping just tried it, but the effect was beyond his imagination. He didn't expect that even a king realm expert couldn't find anything wrong with him. In this way he got a very useful ability. By the way, system, has my hatred value increased during this period of time? Xiaoping immediately asked. He remembered that he had offended a lot of people in the Cloud Mountain range, so he should have gotten a lot of hatred value. The system said, currently the host has a total of 6.95 million hatred value. What's going on? Xiaoping was shocked. He remembered that he had spent 5 million hatred value in order to fuse with the Golden Crow of Hell bloodline, and he had already spent most of his hatred value. But now that he woke up, he had more than 6 million hatred value, which was too exaggerated. He asked carefully and found that he had provoked a King Realm expert, causing the other party to have a strong killing intent, which earned him a lot of hatred value. In addition, there were also many people who hated him, wanted to kill him, and so on. So now he had a total of 6.95 million hatred value, which was a huge sum. It was even more than before he fused with the Golden Crow of Hell bloodline. But the Nye family has a killing intent on me, which is not good. Xiaoping's eyes flickered. The Nye family represented the King Realm in the Cloud Realm, and its power was many times greater than the Su family in Huajing. If the two were compared, one was a divine dragon and the other was an ant. They couldn't be mentioned in the same breath, and the threat was completely different, which made him feel extremely pressured. There seems to be a bounty order from the Nye family. Xia Ping also found out about the Nye family's bounty order on the internet. This bounty order was posted on the internet, and it seemed that the Nye family didn't hide it at all and was open and above board. It was estimated that they also hoped that the news would spread quickly. They wanted to find Wu Wudi as soon as possible and kill him to take revenge. TSK amazing. Xia Ping looked at the bounty order and was also amazed. 500 billion federal coins, a treasured weapon, and a century-old turtle longevity pill. The Nye family is really generous. Even I can't help but be tempted. I want to submit my head. Even he was so tempted, let alone other warriors. It was estimated that at this time the entire Cloud Realm was boiling. Who knew how many people wanted to take his head and send it to the Nye family to receive the bounty? Originally, he thought that his disguise should be flawless, but there was no guarantee that some capable person would appear somewhere and expose his true identity. At that time, he was afraid that he would have to face the anger of the Nye family and the Wolf King Nye Wudao. I have to become stronger. Xia Ping clenched his fists, and an endless sense of urgency surged in his heart. Even the little pride of advancing to the martial master realm disappeared. Compared to the Nye family and the Wolf King Nye Wudao, his current achievements were not worth mentioning. If his identity was exposed, he would be hunted down from all over the world. Chapter 437. After another day, the villa that had been destroyed by the lightning had been repaired by the construction workers of Yanhuang University. It was as good as new and Xia Ping didn't need to pay anything. After all, this was a natural disaster and Xia Ping couldn't be blamed. Whoosh! Xia Ping sat in the quiet room and took a deep breath. The true yuan in his body formed a cycle, and a faint shadow of a golden crow appeared behind him. The air shook inexplicably. Amazing. As expected of the primordial chaos marrow cleansing pill. Its effect is really good. Xia Ping praised. He immediately took the pill from the guardian elder of Yanhuang University. In the end, he found that this pill was extremely powerful. A huge amount of medicinal power flowed into his body, seeping into his bone marrow and refining it, making his body twice as strong. Because of this primordial chaos marrow cleansing pill, the speed at which he absorbed the spirit chi of the world doubled. It seemed that his martial talent had also improved a lot. At the same time, the huge medicinal power helped him open up the 14th and 15th meridians. The true yuan in his body greatly increased and he received endless benefits. As expected of a king. There are simply too many treasures on him. Just a random medicinal pill is enough to benefit me immensely. Xia Ping could clearly sense the wealth of a king. It was definitely extraordinary. That's right. That's right. Just this primordial chaos marrow cleansing pill was enough to make countless martial artists fight over it. Its value was no less than the water of life. With a snap, Xia Ping suddenly stood up from the ground. His muscles and bones crackled and popped, like the thunder of tigers and leopards, displaying the tyrannical strength of his physique. His body moved slightly, and a series of air explosions sounded around his arms. This was a phenomenon caused by his muscles rapidly vibrating and controlling the airflow. But now it's time to go to the administration office and become an elite student. Xia Ping clenched his fists. Elite students were students that were one level higher than ordinary students. After becoming an elite student, they would have all kinds of privileges in Yanhuang University, and they would even have discounts when exchanging items. More importantly, after becoming an elite student, he would be an important figure in Yanhuang University. Anyone who wanted to deal with him would have to think twice and not dare to be presumptuous. If Xia Ping could become an elite student, then no matter if it was in Yanhuang University or within the giant company, his status would greatly increase, and he would receive the recognition of the higher-ups. At that time, even if his identity was exposed by the Wolf King Nye Wudao, he wouldn't have to worry about the Nye family's revenge. Thus, he was determined to become an elite student. However, it was not easy to become an elite student. Advancing to the martial master realm was only a prerequisite. After that, he still had to complete the trial mission issued by the school. Only after he succeeded could he become an elite student. Therefore, Xia Ping wanted to go to Yanhuang University's Academic Affairs Office to accept the promotion to elite student mission and complete the elite student assessment. Half an hour later, Xia Ping left the villa and headed for the Academic Affairs Office of Yanhuang University. The Academic Affairs Office of Yanhuang University was a building complex that took up a large area. Modern skyscrapers stood in great numbers, and each building had its own function. Some were in charge of issuing missions, some were in charge of trials and assessments, some were in charge of exchanging points, and so on. There were many students who needed to go in and out of the academic affairs office on normal days. Not long after, Xiaoping arrived at the hall on the first floor of a building through the school map. This was the place that was specially in charge of assessing elite students and issuing assessment missions. At this time, many students appeared in the hall on the first floor. All of them were at the Martial Master Realm, and most of them were at the first heaven of Martial Master Realm. Obviously they had just advanced to the Martial Master Realm. Among them there were also senior students like Mu Haoran and Zhu Zijian. They had endured for 3 years and finally advanced to the Martial Master Realm. Naturally, there was no need for them to continue enduring. They also wanted to become elite students of Yanhuang University. Look, Xiaoping is here. Immediately, many seniors recognized Xiaoping's appearance and pointed at him. What is he doing here? This is the place for the elite student assessment. How can a new student come here? Don't you know? This kid has already advanced to the Martial Master Realm and has long qualified to become an elite student. Now that he is here, he wants to be promoted to an elite student just like us. You must be joking. This kid is just a new student. He hasn't been in school for long and he wants to be promoted to an elite student? How can his cultivation speed be so fast? Even if he takes pills, it won't be like this. It's really infuriating to compare oneself with others. We have cultivated to the Martial Master Realm. God knows how much effort and resources we have spent. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's an astronomical figure. Now this bastard can casually break through to the Martial Master Realm and even wants to become an elite student. Does he have the qualifications to be on equal footing with us now? It's not just on equal footing. He is simply suppressing us. With such talent, the Martial Master Realm is definitely not his limit. When it comes to the Grandmaster Realm or even the King Realm, we will still have to look up to him and flatter him. Fuck, we still have to look up to him and flatter him. I would rather die. Many students felt extremely aggrieved. They remembered how badly they had been beaten by Xiaoping before. They had lost all their dignity and all of them wanted to take revenge. However, they did not expect that this kid could break through as easily as drinking water. Not long after, he could be on equal footing with them and he might even suppress them in the future. So what if he has good talent? If his character is not good, he can't do anything. Yesterday, I heard that this kid was just staying at home but he was struck by lightning. Even the guardian elder was alarmed. Zhu Zijian was very indignant. I also heard about this. Yesterday's horror seemed to be related to the arrival of heaven's punishment. Because of this, Yanhuang University's energy was lost, and they indirectly lost more than 300 billion federal coins. Fuck, didn't they say that Yanhuang University has installed an extremely powerful defense system? Even if there is lightning falling from the sky, it will be guided to other places. How can they be struck by lightning? That's why I said that the kid has done so much evil that even God couldn't stand it anymore. The lightning that fell was too terrifying, and even Yanhuang University's defense system couldn't withstand it. If that's the case, why didn't the lightning directly strike this scourge to death? This way, everything will be over and everyone will be at peace. Yanhuang University will have a bright future. He's not dead yet. If this kid continues to be like this, sooner or later, God will strike this bastard to death. One by one, the seniors gritted their teeth and spoke in a low voice. They were all angry with Xiaoping, but they did not dare to speak out. Even when they cursed, they only dared to curse Xiaoping secretly and did not dare to say anything. After all, if Xiaoping heard it, they would probably be beaten up. Chapter 438. Xiaoping ignored the discussions of the students around him. He walked straight to the front desk and immediately said to a teacher in a black suit, "I want to be promoted to an elite student." He was simple and direct. The teacher in the black suit glanced at Xiaoping and seemed to recognize him. His originally serious face could not help but reveal a kind smile as he said warmly, "Oh, so it's student Xia. You're indeed amazing. In just a few months you've actually advanced to the Martial Master Realm. No wonder you're an unparalleled genius that even the Guardian Elders praise. However, with your aptitude and martial cultivation, it's certain that you'll be promoted to an elite student. According to Yanhuang University's rules, you still need to complete missions to be promoted." He explained the process of becoming an elite student in detail. His attitude was very amiable. Holy shit, what's going on? What's going on? Is this still the iron-faced and emotionless teacher Yen? Why is he so kind now? He's like the uncle next door? A senior student immediately exclaimed as he looked at this scene in disbelief. The other students were also shocked. They also knew this teacher in a black suit. He was known to be impartial and no student dared to be impudent in front of him. If they didn't complete the mission properly, they would be berated. Whether you were a commoner or a descendant of a king, this teacher in a black suit was impartial and merciless. He did not care what the other party's identity was. Some people had tried to bribe this teacher in a black suit, but they were all humiliated in front of everyone. They were beaten black and blue, and even the mission was judged to have failed. Who knew how many senior students had eaten the dust in front of him? But now, this stern and emotionless teacher with a paralyzed face was actually smiling. His attitude was so amiable. This was too exaggerated. What kind of mission? Xiaoping asked. The man in the black suit said with a smile. Originally, the mission to be promoted to an elite student was randomly assigned. However, you're an exception. There are many missions here. You can pick one. With a wave of his hand, a virtual projection immediately popped up. A large number of missions were listed on it, densely packed together. That's right, this mission to clean up the bats in the dark cave is not bad. You just need to set a fire in the cave and you'll be able to burn all these bats to death. The man in the black suit pointed out, you can also do this mission. Head to the deep pool in the eastern valley 3,000 miles away to search for the black jade pearl. There aren't any powerful demonic beasts in that valley. With your strength you can sweep through them. There's also the mission to raise 10,000 golden horn goats in Wanyang City. There's basically no danger involved. You just have to bring the goats to the mountains to graze. It should be completed within a month. He pointed out a few of the easiest missions. Cheating, this was definitely cheating. Hearing the man in the black suit's words, the eyes of many seniors turned green. They were like mad bulls, all of them unconvinced to the extreme, and smoke was coming out of their nostrils. Darkness, there were definitely layers upon layers of darkness. This world was too dark. If they wanted to be promoted to elite students, they had to complete extremely difficult missions. Although each mission wasn't extremely dangerous, it was close to impossible. The difficulty was unimaginable. Some students might even die during the mission. But this kid, not only was the mission simple, he even allowed him to choose freely. Even the teacher had given him pointers. It was as if he had read a game guide, cheating the entire time. Damn it, this was too unreasonable. The difference in treatment was too big. Why didn't he directly promote him to elite student? Why the hell was he doing missions? I've long heard that this scumbag Xiaoping has a backer in the school. Previously I thought it was just bragging, but now I have to believe it even if I don't want to. A senior gnashed his teeth, extremely unconvinced. Look at that incorruptible teacher's appearance. It's as if that kid is his own son. Even if he's his own son, he wouldn't be so close. That fawning look is simply Xiaoping's lackey. Why the hell is he doing missions? Can't he directly promote him to elite student? Why is he still putting on an act here? Damn it, he just wants to put on an act so that others have nothing to say. Even if he has a backer, he still has to go through the process. Immediately go to the school and sue him. Sue that bastard teacher for favoritism and that bastard Xiaoping for going through the back door. What's the use? He has a backer in the school. No matter how much you sue him, it will be like a stone sinking into the ocean. Don't be too naive. As a descendant of a king family, don't you know the importance of a backer? Many students were furious and gnashed their teeth. However, there was nothing they could do. Who asked Xiaoping to be so deeply rooted in the school that even the school leaders were his backers? They had no choice but to be envious, jealous, and hateful. I choose this. Xiaoping looked at the missions and his eyes lit up. He immediately took a fancy to a mission. What? This mission? Seeing that Xiaoping was pointing at this mission, the teacher in the black suit immediately frowned and said in a deep voice, "This is a mission to kill the recently appeared wind-chasing bandits. Are you sure you want to take this mission? These wind-chasing bandits come and go like the wind. They form groups and specialize in robbing passers-by and merchants. Who knows how many people they have killed? The federal police have surrounded and suppressed them many times, but they can't do anything to them. They always escape easily. It's said that the leader of the wind-chasing bandits is a third heaven of martial master. He also has some martial master experts under him. His power is not small. It's not easy to kill these wind-chasing bandits. Even among the many missions, this mission is one of the most difficult. I think you should change to another mission." He put forward his own suggestion, worried about Xiaoping's safety. After all, he had heard from the guardian elder that this was a peerless genius who was listed as a key target of the school's training. He could directly be promoted to an elite student. If he took on a dangerous mission and was killed by those bandits, then Yanhuang University would suffer a heavy loss. "It's okay. I don't care about these wind-chasing bandits. Even if I can't beat them, I can still escape." Xiaoping's eyes were extremely firm. He wanted to get this mission. Because he wanted to quickly advance to a higher realm, he had to engage in life-and-death battles with more enemies. In the bloody slaughter, his martial arts cultivation would progress rapidly. Even if he had a large number of hatred points and could exchange them for countless precious pills, it did not mean that he could continue to advance as long as he took a large number of pills. If he took too many pills, his body would produce antibodies, and there would not be much effect even if he wanted to take them in the future. Therefore, Xiaoping had to completely refine the medicinal power of the pills in his body before he could take other precious pills. This way, his martial arts foundation would be solid and there would be no huge bottlenecks. Right now, fighting with ferocious enemies was the fastest way for him to improve. Therefore, he would not choose those simple missions. Instead, he would choose those dangerous missions. As expected of a student that the elder has taken a liking to. You really have backbone. Chapter 439. In the sky, a radiant god was flying towards Western Desert City, and the owner of this radiant god was Xiaoping. Western Desert City. Xiaoping clicked on the information on it, which showed that it was located in the northwest of Yanhuang University, hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. It was a city that stood in the desert. This city was controlled by the federal government, but because it was located in the northwest desert area, it was connected to the demon territory and was too far away from the human central city. As a result, the federal government's control over this city was extremely weak. Although it was located in the desert area, it did not mean that this place was not rich. In the desert, gold, diamonds, and other precious metals were abundant. There were also mineral veins that contained star sandstone, flame steel, and other materials. These were all precious materials for building various kinds of high-tech weapons. Therefore, this also caused Western Desert City to be overflowing with wealth. This place was rich and it was far away from the central city. This caused a great deal of chaos in Western Desert City. Over time, this city became a real underworld city, known as a lawless zone. This was just like Black Moon City in the Jianghu district of Yanhuang Planet. However, Western Desert City was obviously more chaotic than Black Moon City. Crooks mixed in with the honest folk, all kinds of tyrannical martial artists emerged one after another, and even demon experts might appear. There was only one ending for those who did not have the strength to appear in this place, and that was death. Are the Windchaser bandits hiding near Western Desert City? Xiaoping looked at the information sent by Yanhuang University, which had all kinds of information about the Windchaser bandits. Originally, these Windchaser bandits were not thieves, but because they committed crimes, they were wanted by the federal government. If they were caught, they would be sentenced to death. In the end, they became bandits, robbing people everywhere. This kind of thing was also very normal. Martial artists were originally hot-blooded humans. If they did not agree with each other, they would start a fight. When they were really angry, they would not be able to control their strength and kill the other party. As a result, they had committed a serious crime. Many martial artists did not want to be hunted by the federal government, so they immediately fled and became bandits. Since the Cloud Realm was so big, even if they hid in a random mountain or wild forest, no one would be able to find them. This had also caused the security of the Cloud Realm to be unstable. Even caravans had to bring guards with them when they traveled. Otherwise, they would be attacked and killed by these vicious bandits. The Windchaser bandits were one of the most famous bandit forces among these bandits. The federal government had issued a wanted order with an extremely high bounty. However, the Windchaser bandits were still free and unfettered so far. On the contrary, all the police officers who came to hunt them down were killed. They even hung their heads on cliffs to provoke the federal government. As a result, the Federation government was enraged and issued a mission to Yanhuang University, hoping that the elite students would take action and kill all of these brazen Windchaser bandits. The wind-chasing bandits come and go like the wind. They move and leave no trace. Therefore, many federal police officers have been searching for them for a long time, but they still can't locate them. Xiaoping's eyes flickered as he looked at the information. They are also extremely cunning. When they encounter powerful federal police, they will hide and disappear for a year and a half, waiting for the limelight to blow over. When they encounter weak federal police officers, they will set up traps and kill them as a warning to others. Until now, countless federal police officers, caravan members, innocent women and children have died tragically in the hands of the Windchaser bandits. They are a great scourge. However, no matter how cunning these Windchaser bandits were, the federal police had found some clues about them and confirmed that the base of these Windchaser bandits was near Western Wilderness City. However, Western Wilderness City was too big. It covered an area of countless square kilometers. It was surrounded by barren mountains and wild mountains. In the distance there was also a vast desert. From time to time demonic beasts would appear. This made it extremely difficult for the federal government to track them. They had never been able to eradicate this group of bandits, allowing them to roam free for many years. This made the Windchaser bandits even more arrogant. It seems that if I want to find the Windchaser bandits, I must let the local bullies of Western Wilderness City go personally. If these local bullies don't know where the Windchaser bandits are, then no one will. Xia Ping's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. As long as he knew the whereabouts of a Windchaser bandits, he could use the 10,000 miles tracking technique to track them down and kill them in one fell swoop. He decided to let the local bullies help him find the whereabouts of the Windchaser bandits after he arrived at Western Wilderness City. Several days later, Xia Ping's Radiant God immediately arrived at Western Wilderness City's airport. Although Western Wilderness City was an underworld city and was extremely chaotic, it was still very orderly on the surface. There were many modern high-rise buildings in the city. There were many hover cars flying around on the roads. All kinds of shops were incomparably flourishing, looking full of vitality. Even an ordinary city would not have such vitality. However, on the surface the people living here were all strong and powerful. Even the women were fierce like ferocious beasts. There were knife scars on their faces and they could lift a ton with a single hand. None of the people living here were to be trifled with. When Xia Ping's Radiant God landed at Western Wilderness City's airport, it immediately attracted the attention of many people. TSK can't be Radiant God? Isn't this an extremely luxurious private spaceship? A spaceship like this is worth tens of billions of federal coins. Unless you're a nouveau riche, you won't be able to afford it. That's to be expected. Just the fuel to fly this spaceship costs tens of thousands of federal coins every day. The monthly maintenance fee is money that ordinary people can't earn in their entire lives. Just where did this young master come from? He actually came to Western Wilderness City? Is he courting death? I guess it's some young master who wants to come here to have some fun. Although this kind of thing is rare, it's not unheard of. We have to let this young master experience the rules of Western Wilderness City. Many people of Western Wilderness City were discussing spiritedly. Staring at the descending Radiant God, their eyes revealed a trace of ferocity. It was like a ferocious beast that was choosing its prey, containing a trace of greed. With a slap, Xia Ping walked out of the spaceship. So. Immediately, a man in a suit with a knife scar on his face ran over. With a flattering expression, he said, "Young master, may I know what business you have in Western Wilderness City?" "I'm not bragging, but I, Husan, have lived in Western Wilderness City for 20 to 30 years. There are very few things that I don't know." Xia Ping narrowed his eyes and looked at the distance. There seemed to be a few dozen men who wanted to come over. However, when they saw this knife-scarred man coming over, none of them dared to approach, as if they were very afraid of this knife-scarred man. Somewhat interesting. Xia Ping raised his eyebrows. He also knew that this was the way of survival for these people at the bottom of the underworld city. It was to provide their own information to the underworld and then obtain rewards. And he just so happened to need such a person. Chapter 440. What? Hearing these words, the surrounding people were all shocked. Even if they were beaten to death, they would never have thought that this kid would actually say such words. After all, even though the Windchaser bandits were not the biggest bandit group in Western Desolation City, they were still considered to be relatively strong. Moreover, the Windchasing bandits were a bandit group that had survived for a long time in the Western Wilderness City. They had survived the siege of the federal police several times and were already famous in the Western Wilderness City. Could be said that everyone knew about them. "Young master, what do you want to find the Windchasing bandits for?" the scarred man Husan asked. Xia Ping said matter-of-factly, "To kill them, of course." Kill them? Many people were shocked. It was their first time hearing such a simple and direct reason. "Young master, perhaps you don't know this, but the Windchasing bandits are not people to be trifled with. There were a few people who tried to find trouble with the Windchasing bandits, but they were all killed. Their heads were hung on the cliff as a warning to others. The scarred man, Husan, vaguely reminded Xiaoping about how scary the wind-chasing bandits were. They were not people who could be trifled with. They're just some lowly bandits. I can kill them with a wave of my hand. Xiaoping said casually, to be honest, I accepted a mission from the school to kill the wind-chasing bandits. I came to the Western Wilderness City this time to find the base of the wind-chasing bandits and kill them all. If you have any clues, feel free to tell me. I will reward you handsomely. He revealed a rich and overbearing look. Kill them all? Everyone was speechless. The corner of their mouths twitched. Did this young master really think that the wind-chasing bandits were some big shots? They were the bandits that dominated the Western Wilderness. They were extremely cruel and killed people like flies. They had been besieged by the federal police several times and faced a desperate situation several times. However, they always survived. From this, it could be seen how scary the wind-chasing bandits were. However, this young master, who was obviously a kid who had not even graduated, actually wanted to find trouble with the wind-chasing bandits in the Western Wilderness City. He even wanted to kill all the wind-chasing bandits in one fell swoop. This wasn't crazy, then what was? The knife-scarred man, Husan, was also speechless. He could tell that this kid was clearly a young master who didn't know the ways of the world. He didn't even know the evils of society. This brat probably thought that the windchaser bandits and the other vicious bandits were the same as the subordinates he usually fought with. That was why he was so fearless and rashly came to Western Desolation City to die. If they were at home, perhaps the family members would still be courteous to this young master because of his identity. But in the outside world, they would not have such benefits when they encountered these ruthless criminals. After all, these windchaser bandits were all fugitives. If they were caught, they would be sentenced to death. What was there for them to be afraid of? No matter how powerful their background was, it was just a fart in front of them. Young master, I advise you to think twice. It's better to leave the task of chasing and killing criminals to the police. Such a dirty task is not suitable for you. The knife-scarred man, Husan, advised, actually, there are many fun places in Western Desolation City. There are some exotic beauties and there are even beauties from the demon race. If young master is willing, Xiaoping waved his hand and stopped him from continuing. He said disdainfully, think twice, my ass. Are you looking down on me? They're just some trash bandits. All of them are rats that only know how to hide underground. When they meet the strong, they will hide. When they meet the weak, they will gang up on them. All of them are cowards that bully the weak and fear the strong. Why would I be afraid of rats like them? What a joke. If you don't know any clues about them, then hurry up and get lost. Don't be a hindrance here. If you stop me from killing the windchaser bandits and make a name for yourself in the school in the future, be careful that I don't take your dog life. He was arrogant and despotic. He didn't listen to the knife-scarred man, Husan, at all. What a hothead. This brat was definitely a hothead. The knife-scarred man, Husan, and the others were completely speechless. Talking to such a stubborn young master, no matter what they said, this brat would definitely not listen to them. To be honest, it wasn't the first time they had seen a young master with a stone in his head. However, it was the first time they had seen such a stubborn young master who didn't listen to advice and insisted on seeking death. Alright, if you insist on finding the nest of the windchaser bandits, perhaps there is an organization in this city that will know. The knife-scarred man, Husan, had no choice but to say so. What organization? Xiaoping asked. The knife-scarred man, Husan, said in a deep voice, I can't help. Although this gang isn't the biggest gang in Western Desolation City, they have gathered all the lowly people. All the beggars on the streets are their people. They have eyes everywhere. It can be said that they are the most well-informed organization in this city. If you need help from this gang, you will definitely be able to find some clues. However, their fees are very high. They are the kind that eat people without spitting out the bones. Previously, when the federal police came to Western Desolation City, they also wanted to find the windchaser bandits. However, they were scared off by the high fees. In the end, they could only rely on themselves. High fees. Xiaoping said in disdain, perhaps you still don't know. I don't have much, but I have a lot of money. How much is it to find information? 300 million, 1 billion, or even a few billion? What the fuck? Everyone was scared silly. The number that this kid said was beyond their imagination. The feeling of money was completely different. They were people from different worlds. To them, hundreds of thousands of federal coins was a huge amount. However, this kid easily said hundreds of millions of federal coins. He simply didn't treat money as money. However, thinking about it carefully, it was normal. This kid could even drive a private spaceship like the Radiant God. A mere hundreds of millions of federal coins was nothing to him. This doesn't need that much. The knife-scarred man Wuxia had a sullen expression. His face was as black as charcoal. He felt that the money he thought was a lot was nothing in the other party's eyes. Alright, cut the crap. Immediately lead the way. If you find that guy, I will heavily reward you. With a slap, Xiaoping grabbed a large stack of cash and smashed it on the knife-scarred man Wuxia. With a crashing sound, a large number of notes fell to the ground. The surrounding people were all dumbfounded. 100,000 federal coins. Just these notes alone amounted to 100,000 federal coins. Rich and overbearing. Casually giving out 100,000 federal coins as if he was sprinkling water. If this wasn't rich and overbearing, then what was? The surrounding people's eyes turned green. If they knew that this kid was so rich, they would have rushed up and snatched the knife-scarred man's job even if they were beaten to death. The knife-scarred man Wuxia was extremely excited. His hands moved like the wind and quickly grabbed the 100,000 federal coins. With a face full of flattery, he said, "Young master, this way please, this way please. The help is not far ahead." He immediately turned into a loyal lackey and no longer had the slightest intention of obstructing. Chapter 441. Western Desolation City. On a street paved with white jade, there were tall buildings on both sides. There were restaurants, nightclubs, casinos, bars, brothels, and other facilities. It was extremely prosperous. There were many experts in uniforms standing around with ferocious expressions. They were checking the pedestrians passing by, as if to prevent people with bad intentions from causing trouble. This street was the famous lawless street of Western Desolation City. It was a street occupied by the lawless gang, and the lawless gang's headquarters was at the end of this street, in a high-rise building that was more than 100 stories tall. "Young master, this is the lawless gang's headquarters." The person who spoke was the scarred man Wuxia. He had a fawning look on his face and was submissive like a lackey as he spoke to Xiaoping. Xiaoping looked around and found that he had arrived at the end of this street. There was a tall building in front of him, and there was a plaque on the door with the words "Lawless Gang" written on it. There were many tyrannical experts standing around this building. They were all at least in the martial warrior realm. They exuded a valiant aura and looked extremely ferocious. "Stop." Seeing Xiaoping and Wuxia approaching, a guard shouted angrily, "This is the lawless gang's headquarters. Unauthorized people are not allowed to approach. Violators will be killed without mercy." His voice was like thunder, like a ferocious tiger from the western regions, roaring endlessly and brimming with murderous intent. Ordinary people would be scared out of their wits if they heard such a voice. "Sir." Wuxia immediately went up and rubbed his hands together with a fawning expression. "We are here to buy information from lawless gang. I wonder if you can make an exception?" "Make an exception, my ass." Xiaoping took a step forward and shouted, "This young master is here to help, but you can't. You lackeys, how dare you obstruct this young master?" With a smack, he took out a pile of things and threw them at the guard. "What?" Hearing this, the guard beside him immediately flew into a rage. There was actually someone who dared to openly attack a guard in the lawless gang's headquarters. This person was courting death. However, before they could react, a pile of banknotes hit them. With a clattering sound, a total of 100,000 federal coins fell to the ground and scattered all over. Immediately, the nearby guards were dumbfounded. Although they had seen a lot of money, it was rare for someone to casually take out 100,000 federal coins and throw them at someone. This. Immediately, the anger of the guards at the scene disappeared completely. After all, money was used to smash people and the amount was not small, so they couldn't be angry at all. At the same time, they also knew that Xiaoping was not someone who wanted to cause trouble, so they had no reason to chase him out. What's with all the noise? At this moment, a middle-aged man dressed in black walked out. He walked with a majestic gait and an extraordinary aura. Impressively, he was an expert in the martial master realm, at least in the third heaven of the martial master realm. He came to the door and scanned the surroundings with a dignified gaze. At the same time, he saw a pile of notes on the ground. "Supervisor, this gentleman wants to buy information." A guard immediately stepped forward and reported what had just happened in fear and trepidation, not daring to hide anything. That was because this middle-aged man was one of the higher-ups of the helplessness sect. His power was monstrous and a single word from him could take his life. How could he dare to speak such impudent lies? So it's a distinguished guest. My apologies for not going out to welcome you. My apologies for not going out to welcome you. My subordinates don't know how to appreciate favors and have caused trouble for you. Please come in, please come in. The black-clothed middle-aged man was full of smiles. A person who could casually take out 100,000 federal coins to smash people. If such a person wasn't an honored guest, then what was? Wasn't the reason why the helplessness sect was able to develop and grow stronger because of the support from so many rich people? For such a distinguished guest, they didn't dare to neglect him at all. Xia Ping nodded and followed the middle-aged man in black into a VIP room of the building and sat down. As for the scar-faced man he had completed his mission and left. In the VIP room, a few women in revealing clothes immediately appeared next to him. They came up to serve Xia Ping with tea and water. Young master, what do you want from the helplessness sect? The middle-aged man in black went straight to the point. The helplessness sect is one of the largest gangs in Western Wilderness City. They have many subordinates all over Western Wilderness and a good reputation. As long as there's enough money, anything can be done. He was full of confidence. Hearing this, Xia Ping immediately said, I want to know the nest of the wind-chasing bandits. What? When the people next to him heard this, they were all shocked. They didn't expect that the kid in front of them would want to know the location of the wind-chasing bandits' nest. Everyone was shocked. The wind-chasing bandits' nest? Hearing this, the middle-aged man in black's eyes flickered. I wonder why this young master wants to know the location of the wind-chasing bandits' nest? Can I know the reason? It's very simple. I accepted a mission in school to kill the wind-chasing bandits. Xia Ping said straightforwardly, this time I came to Western Wilderness City to chop off their heads, make a name for myself and stand out. The people next to him twitched their mouths. This reason was really simple. Indeed, many students were very naive, thinking that killing some vicious criminals would make them famous. The problem was that these vicious criminals who had committed crimes for many years were not easy to kill. Even some experienced criminals had died in the hands of these bandits. Obviously, this inexperienced playboy wanted to make trouble for them. Obviously, he wanted to die. The middle-aged man in black was also speechless. He tried to dissuade him. This young master, with all due respect, these wind-chasing bandits have been ruthless in Western Wilderness City for more than 10 years. I don't know how many people they have killed. The federal police have chased after them several times, but they always escaped. They are not easy to deal with. He vaguely reminded Xia Ping that the wind-chasing bandits were not easy to deal with. It's okay. Xia Ping waved his hand and said carelessly, to be honest, I specially brought the brilliant god with me this time. It is equipped with all kinds of high-tech weapons, and its force is no less than that of any warship. It can even kill experts in the Master Realm. As long as I know where the nest of the wind-chasing bandits is, I will immediately go there with the brilliant god. First, I will baptize them with thousands of missiles, then I will sweep them with a few neutron bombs. The nuclear bombs will flatten dozens of mountains, and they will die without a whole body. If they are still alive after that, I will kill them slowly. I will sweep them with lasers and turn their bodies into beehives. I don't believe that these wind-chasing bandits have 3 heads and 6 arms. What the hell? Hearing these words, the people around were dumbfounded and felt a chill run down their spine. If that was the case, no matter how powerful the wind-chasing bandits were, they would be killed dozens of times. Chapter 442. The problem was that this was too expensive. As the saying goes, a cannon is worth 10,000 taels of gold. Thousands of missiles exploded at the same time. How much money would it cost? Hundreds of millions of federal coins would definitely be needed. Once it exploded, the money would be gone. Not to mention the energy to start the spacecraft, nuclear bombs, laser energy, etc. Once it was started, the money would flow out like water. Even the federal police didn't dare to spend money like this. After all, their department still had a budget. If the cost of dealing with the bandits was too high, they would give up. Young master, isn't this spending too much money? The middle-aged man in black couldn't help but ask. Xia Ping said casually, it's nothing. This is the early investment to make a name for yourself. In order to be famous and become an influential figure in the school, this money is just a drop in the bucket. To be honest, there's nothing else in my family except money. He revealed the appearance of a super nouveau riche. Fuck, what an evil rich man. The faces of the people next to him turned green. They were extremely jealous. For tens of thousands of federal coins, They risked their lives and might even pay a heavy price. They violated the law and were wanted by the federal police. However, this kid didn't treat money as money at all. He spent it as if he was sprinkling water. Hundreds of millions of federal dollars were thrown into the water just like that. The difference between people was really too big. The heavens were really too unfair. At this moment, the middle-aged man in black finally understood that this kid was simply a descendant of a rich family. He was born with a golden spoon in his mouth and his family didn't lack money at all. This kind of person came to Western Wilderness City to return to the school in the future to show off, act like a tyrant and pick up girls. Therefore, he targeted the wind-chasing bandits to scare the monkey. All right. Thinking of this, the middle-aged man in black said in a deep voice, "This matter is of great importance. After all, the wind-chasing bandits are also a famous bandit group in Western Wilderness City. If we want to investigate, we need to pay a certain price. After all, we can't help or face the revenge of the wind-chasing bandits. Also, the investigation will take time. So I hope you can wait for a while, young master. The money is not small either. It needs 100 million federal coins." He deliberately raised the price, hoping to rip off this fat sheep. 100 million? It's just a small amount. Xiaoping didn't care about the price at all. He shouted, "Tell me honestly, how long do I need to wait? If it's more than a day, then forget it. After all, I'm going to play mahjong with a few friends 3 days later. I'm very busy. If you guys can't help me, I'll go to the other gangs for help. I don't believe that I can't find those earth gutter rats and wind-chasing bandits with a few 100 million. He made a show of impatience. The mouths of the people at the side twitched. This hedonistic son had come to Western Desolation City to cause trouble for the wind-chaser bandits, and it was as easy as playing a game. He really looked down on the wind-chaser bandits. In any case, the wind-chaser bandits were considered to be ferocious bandits. Speaking in such a manner was not giving them any face at all. Don't worry. Hearing Xiaoping's disdainful words of being unable to help, the black-clothed middle-aged man's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. However, he still maintained his composure and said, "When it comes to finding information in a place like Western Huang City, if I can't claim to be number one, then no one would dare to claim to be number two. 1 day is more than enough." His tone was resolute. "That's good. I'll wait for you for a day." Xiaoping said, "I'm currently staying in the presidential suite of Western Huang City's Starlight Hotel. If there's any news, go there and inform me." After saying this, he stood up and left. Very quickly, he left the immeasurable gang's headquarters. The black-clothed middle-aged man's eyes flickered. Looking at Xiaoping's departing back, he asked one of his subordinates, "Is this kid really a tycoon? Doesn't he see money as money?" One of his subordinates immediately said, "He really is a tycoon. The person who brought him here just now is Western Huang City's famous rat, Husan. He saw with his own eyes that the other party drove a private flying ship, the Radiant God. Although it had only been a short period of time, he had already investigated some of Xiaoping's information. He really is a tycoon. He even drove a private flying ship, the Radiant God. It's said that this kind of Radiant God is worth at least 30 billion federal coins. Not only that, didn't they say that his flying ship is equipped with all kinds of high-tech weapons? I reckon that it's also been modified and armed to the teeth. It's worth at least 50 billion federal coins. Tsk, with such firepower, even if he's an idiot, he can still rely on these weapons to kill bandits and big thieves. It's a complete suppression. Looks like the wind-chasing bandits are out of luck. He's just relying on his father's influence. Without his father, he's nothing." Everyone discussed among themselves. They were all envious and jealous of Xiaoping. But supervisor. The eyes of one of his subordinates flickered. Although the wind-chasing bandits are bandits who commit all kinds of crimes and kill people like flies, they always give all kinds of treasures to us every year. We've gained a lot from it. It can be said that the wind-chasing bandits' loot accounts for more than half of our profits. If the information about the wind-chasing bandits' lair is leaked, we'll suffer heavy losses even if we can't help. They had been secretly colluding with the wind-chasing bandits for a long time. In fact, it wasn't just their gang. The other gangs in Western Huang City also colluded with other bandits. They obtained a lot of benefits by robbing merchants, pedestrians, and so on. The problem is that we can't refuse. If we refuse, that kid can totally find other gangs for help. Another subordinate clenched his fist. Although the wind-chasing bandits' lair is very secretive, it's hard to guarantee that no other gangs know about it. With such a huge reward, there will always be loopholes. After all, the other gangs don't cooperate with the wind-chasing bandits. They're not close to them. They can totally betray us. He also pointed out the risk of refusing Xia Ping's cooperation. Indeed, with such a huge reward, no one can stay rational. Even if we can't help him, it doesn't mean that we're all united. Someone might betray us for the reward. That kid is a good-for-nothing and brainless. But he has the light god and can kill grandmasters. He's a great threat. We have to be careful about this. Otherwise, the wind-chasing bandits will be destroyed. Many people were talking about it. They were all nervous and serious. They had never thought that they would be forced into a corner by a good-for-nothing. Sometimes, the power of money was terrifying. As long as there was enough money, even grandmasters would die. Some people even looked at each other and began to doubt each other. Although they seemed to be on good terms now, if that good-for-nothing really offered a reward of hundreds of millions, there was no guarantee that someone would betray them. After all, with hundreds of millions in their hands, they could easily go to other safe cities to live, work, marry, and have children. Chapter 443. Before long, the black-clothed middle-aged man arrived at the top floor of the building. It was a huge lounge with floor-to-ceiling glass on all sides. It had a wide field of vision, allowing one to overlook the entire city. Standing here gave off a feeling of conquering everything. At this moment, there were two middle-aged men chatting over tea in the lounge. Both of them emitted a terrifying aura. They had the bearing of ambitious people, and their martial arts cultivation had reached the fourth layer of the martial master realm. With such strength, even in Western Desolation City, they would be considered experts. They were currently discussing something, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. It was as if they were old friends. Dong dong dong. At this moment, someone knocked on the door of the lounge. A white-clothed middle-aged man frowned, as if he had not expected someone to disturb them at this time. However, after thinking for a moment, he said, "Come in." "Yes, gang leader." When the black-clothed middle-aged man heard the words, he immediately pushed open the door and walked in. This white-clothed middle-aged man was the Lawless Gang's gang leader, Salander, an ambitious person who ruled over the entire Lawless Gang. As soon as he entered the lounge, he noticed a middle-aged man with a scar on his face sitting beside the gang leader. His pupils constricted and he said, "Gang leader, I didn't expect you to still be entertaining guests. Sorry to disturb you." "It's fine. You came at the right time. I also have something to discuss with you." Salander waved his hand and said, "Let me introduce you. This is the boss of the Windchaser bandits, Ko Gao. He is also an important partner of the Lawless Gang. This time he has come in person. He hopes to cooperate with us on a major matter." The boss of the Windchaser bandits, Ko Gao, smiled slightly. Gang leader Salander is too polite. It's just a matter of mutual benefit. How do you write the word, human? It's two people supporting each other, helping each other, cooperating with each other, and progressing together. How can a single person stand in this world? The more friends we have, the easier it is to walk in this world. As the saying goes, a just cause enjoys abundant support, and an unjust cause finds little. Only by cooperating with each other can we make a living in this world and enjoy glory, splendor, wealth, and rank. He gave off a scholarly aura, like a strategist with the pearl of wisdom in his hands. Salander burst into laughter. As expected of the boss of the Windchasers. You're indeed wise and philosophical. No wonder you're still alive and kicking despite being hunted by the federal police. Little Chen, I'll tell you. This time the old bandit came to find us to sell the stolen goods. He recently robbed a caravan and got a lot of pills and spirit medicines, including a large number of wood spirit pills. I think you know very well how effective this wood spirit pill is. Even martial masters need it to cultivate. This is a best-selling product. Once it's launched, it'll be sold out immediately. This is a transaction worth 5 billion federal coins. It's no small matter. I hope that you can immediately open up a sales channel in Western Huang City and earn a lot of money. He was in high spirits and was in a very good mood. After all, this was a deal worth 5 billion federal coins, a rare big deal. After this matter was over, he didn't know how much money he would earn. Even if he went to visit a prostitute, he would be able to do so until the end of time. A deal worth 5 billion federal coins. Hearing this, the black-clothed middle-aged man was also very shocked. Even for the Lawless Gang, this was not a deal that could be underestimated. Once it succeeded, the entire gang would be able to benefit from it. "Boss, actually, I have something to report this time. It's very important." Salander frowned. "What is it? Speak." He instinctively felt that this matter was very troublesome. Otherwise, his subordinates wouldn't have deliberately come to disturb him when he was receiving an important guest. It's like this. Just now, a troublesome guest came to Western Huang City. The black-clothed middle-aged man cupped his hands and explained everything that had just happened in detail, not fearing the boss of the Windchasers, Ko Gao. However, after hearing the black-clothed middle-aged man's words, Ko Gao's expression became uglier and uglier. Without waiting for the black-clothed middle-aged man to finish speaking, he slammed his palm on the wooden table in front of him. A tyrannical force exploded, instantly shattering the table into pieces. "How dare you? How dare you?" Ko Gao roared, unable to restrain his anger. "A brat who hasn't even grown his hair yet dares to imitate others and try to kill me, Ko Gao? He even wants to kill us to make a name for himself. Just who gave him such courage? Does he want to die?" He was so angry that his nose was crooked. He didn't want to hear the black-clothed middle-aged man finish. To think that he, the Windchasers, had run amok in Western Huang for more than 10 years, committing all sorts of crimes and killing people like scything flax. It could be said that his reputation had reached the point where even children would stop crying. There was no one who wasn't afraid of him. Most people would have wet their pants long ago upon hearing the name of the Windchasers, and their legs would tremble. However, a rich kid from God knows where had come to Western Huang City, acting so arrogant and despotic, declaring that he wanted to kill all the Windchasers and take Ko Gao's head in order to make a name for himself. Since when had they, the Windchasers, fallen to the point of being used as a stepping stone by a rich family's young master, becoming small characters for him to make a name for himself? If he could tolerate this, he might as well just die and be a coward. "Brother Ko, calm down, calm down." Salida couldn't help but dissuade him. Ko Gao revealed a sinister smile as he stared at Salida. "Brother Salida, a brat who hasn't even grown his hair yet wants to stand on my head and piss on me. He even wants to kill me and make a name for himself. May I ask how you want me to calm down? Tell me the truth. What if you can't help me? Are you trying to expose our Windchasers' lair and sell out our profits? Are you going to hand over my head to curry favor with some rich family's young master?" Although they had been putting on an act just now, acting as if they were good brothers, everyone knew that there were no good people in the underworld. As long as there was enough profit, anyone would sell out the other. He wasn't stupid enough to believe Salida's nature. In reality, if Xia Ping was just an ordinary young master, he would only treat him as a joke. The problem was that the other party had a powerful weapon like the Radiant God, which was equivalent to an army coming to surround and kill him. This was already a life-threatening danger. If the other party discovered their lair, they would most likely be doomed, and they might even be completely wiped out. This was why he was so angry. "What are you talking about? That so-called rich family's young master is nothing." Salida sneered. "You want me to sell out my brothers for a mere 100 million? Do you think that's possible? We've been working together for more than 10 years, and there are billions of federal coins worth of transactions every year. Now that arrogant young master wants to kill you, that's the same as cutting off my source of income. Cutting off someone's source of income is the same as killing their parents. Do you think I can tolerate him?" Ko Gao's eyes flashed with a cold light. "Very good, with your words I'll immediately gather some people and silently eliminate this young lord. Although he has a powerful background, it's not his place to behave atrociously in Western Desolation City. Moreover, if a few people die here, it'll be impossible to investigate." Chapter 444. In a presidential suite of the Starlight Hotel, Xia Ping was sitting on the floor with his eyes closed. His breathing was steady and he was circulating the pure yang immortal art to cultivate. "They're already here?" All of a sudden, Xia Ping opened his eyes, revealing a trace of coldness. He used his mental power to sense the surroundings and immediately sensed that there were 3 or 4 people sneaking around outside the presidential suite. These people were walking briskly and all of them were martial artist ninth heaven experts. There was a faint smell of blood on their bodies. Obviously they were all murderers. It seems that the plan of alerting them has succeeded. Xia Ping smiled. Before he came to Western Desolation City, he had read all kinds of information and knew that the reason why these wind-chasing bandits could stay in Western Desolation City for such a long time was because they had spies and colluded with some forces in Western Desolation City. Therefore they could survive for such a long time and avoid being encircled several times without dying. After all, they were still humans. Humans needed food and needed to trade. If there were no channels to trade for food, they would have starved to death long ago and become a dried corpse. It was almost impossible to hunt in the wild. In a place like Western Desolation, the land was barren and the surrounding was a vast desert. There was no food unless they ate sand. Therefore, Xiaoping determined that the wind-chasing bandits must be colluding with some forces in Western Desolation City. Although he did not know which force it was, he did not need to know. He purposely showed off his wealth and power in front of Wu He Gang. This would make Wu He Gang feel threatened and want to get rid of him. Obviously, this plan of luring the snake out of its hole had succeeded. Those wind-chasing bandits took the bait and sent some people to find trouble with him. Then he could use these wind-chasing bandits to find their lair and kill them all in one fell swoop. Walala, at this moment, a high-tech weapon seemed to have drilled a small hole in the wall of the presidential suite. From the small hole, a glass tube was inserted. Immediately, a colorless and odorless aura was blown in. In a few breaths, the entire presidential suite was filled with this aura. Is this a bewitching drug? Xiaoping's nose twitched. He immediately realized that this aura was a bewitching drug and its effect was extremely strong. Even a little bit of it was enough to bewitch an elephant. Even if he was a martial master, he would not be able to resist much of the bewitching drug. These wind chasers were probably also very afraid of Xiaoping's identity and didn't want to kill him in the presidential suite. They wanted to knock him out first, move him out, and then deal with him slowly. This way there would be fewer clues left. Interesting. Xiaoping's heart moved and he immediately circulated the pure yang immortal incantation. His lava-like true essence instantly refined the aura, burning it cleanly, not affecting him in the slightest. Under his pure yang immortal secret art, he already had a physique that was immune to all poisons. A mere bewitching drug was simply unable to make him faint. However, in order to find the lair of these windchaser bandits, he immediately decided to pretend to be unconscious. With a plop, Xiaoping fell to the ground pretending to be unconscious. Beep. A few minutes later, the door to the presidential suite was opened, and 3 or 4 figures immediately walked in. When they saw the unconscious Xiaoping on the floor, they all laughed until their teeth could not be seen, and were extremely excited. Aha, this is the young master who wants to destroy us windchaser bandits and step on our heads to make a name for himself? You sure have a big mouth, but didn't I knock you out with just a little drug? What an idiot. One of the windchaser bandits looked at Xiaoping with disdain, looking down on such a spoiled brat. He even wanted to spit on Xiaoping. Although he's an idiot and a spoiled brat, I have to say that he's a huge threat. A long-haired windchaser bandit had a solemn expression as he clenched his fists. Another windchaser bandits could not help but nod. Yes, luckily we knew of his existence in advance. Otherwise, if he spent hundreds of millions of federal coins to find out the location of our lair, and then used the illuminating god to baptize us with 1,000 missiles, we would definitely be dead or injured, and the entire windchaser bandits would fall apart. Thinking of this, he shuddered. Even if this kid was an idiot and a spoiled brat, he was still a huge threat. The illuminating god was simply a killing machine. After all, no matter how fierce and powerful they were just bandits. How could they be compared to the weapons of the Federal Army, which were terrifying weapons used against the demon race? To bandits like them, it was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Unfortunately, they met such a hothead who didn't treat money as money at all. Indeed, we're too lucky. Fortunately, this kid is stupid. His big mouth is shouting everywhere, as if he's afraid that others don't know he's here to deal with us windchaser bandits. If it wasn't like that, how could we catch this idiot? Cut the crap. Quickly capture this kid and bring him back to our lair. We'll slowly deal with him. I want to see what kind of background this kid has. He actually dares to cause trouble for us windchaser bandits. Yes, capture him and let's go. The windchaser bandits glanced at each other. They could not stay here for too long. If they were discovered by others, their efforts would be in vain. They immediately lifted Xiaoping with dexterous hands and feet. A few minutes later, they left the Starlight Hotel without anyone noticing and boarded a hover car. With a rumble, they drove out of Western Huang City. After driving for 2 to 3 hours, they had traveled thousands of kilometers, passed through barren mountains, and finally arrived at a remote stone mountain that was thousands of meters tall. They hurriedly drove in. They saw that the center of the stone mountain had been hollowed out, revealing a huge space. There was also a stronghold inside with many stone houses built. Because the stone walls were too thick and the stone was unique, it could isolate all kinds of electromagnetic signals. No tracking equipment could be used here. Soon they drove all the way and arrived at the stronghold's meeting hall. At this moment, the higher-ups of the windchaser bandits had already gathered here. Their boss Kogao was also among them. Xiaoping's hands and feet were tied with huge chains, like a criminal. With such chains, even a martial master would not be able to escape easily. Therefore they were not afraid of how much trouble Xiaoping would cause when he woke up. "Wake him up," Kogao ordered. With a splash, one of the Windchaser bandits had already taken a bucket of water and poured it on Xiaoping's face. The cold water immediately woke Xiaoping up. Phew. Chapter 445. Xiaoping used his spiritual power to sense the surroundings and found that all the bandits present were martial masters. The strongest among them was a fourth-layer martial master. The gathering of so many martial masters would definitely shock many people. This kind of power was enough to kill a beginner martial master dozens of times over. Brat. Kogao stared at Xiaoping and smiled sinisterly. "I am the boss of the wind-chasing bandits that you want to find. I heard that you want to kill us wind-chasing bandits and use us as stepping stones to make a name for yourself? How dare you do such a brainless thing in Western Wilderness City? Have you thought about how you will die?" A terrifying murderous aura gushed out from his body and crushed over, trying to break Xiaoping's courage. "Boss, what are you asking?" A wind-chasing bandit at the side shouted. "For a playboy like him who overestimates himself, first chop off his hands, then chop off his legs, then dig out his eyes. Let him taste the pain of living a life worse than death." He revealed a ferocious expression. That's right. A brat wants to kill us wind-chasing bandits. He's courting death. If we don't kill the chicken to scare the monkey, any playboy will want to take our heads to make a name for himself. If this goes on, we will be constantly harassed by these playboys. Will we still be able to rob and carry out normal robber missions? If we don't kill a few of them, these playboys won't know fear. They will think that we are pushovers. The group of wind-chasing bandits shouted. All of them were extremely ferocious, wanting to make Xiaoping's life worse than death. "I see. You guys are wind-chasing bandits." Xiaoping stood up, the chains on his body rattling. "I remember staying in the presidential suite of Starlight Hotel before, but I was captured by you guys and brought here not long after. There aren't many who can accurately know where I am. Could it be that impotent gang sold me out?" His eyes flickered, guessing the person who sold him out. "How stupid." Kogao sneered. "Since you are also a prisoner, there is no problem telling you. Impotent gang is the biggest partner of us wind-chasing bandits. We trade billions of federal coins every year. We are already on the same side. But you actually foolishly looked for impotent gang to cooperate with. Isn't that asking a tiger for its skin? If they don't betray you, are they going to betray us, their biggest partners? In short, you will wish you were dead today. No one can save you." He clenched his fists and a murderous aura emanated from his body. "Boss, what's there to say?" A bald man at the side shouted. "How can we let a hothead like him take the lives of us windchaser bandits? We'll break his legs to vent our anger." With a swoosh, he held a huge mace in his hand and smashed it down on Xiaoping's legs with great force, like the roar of a bear. If he was hit by this huge mace, the bones in his legs would be smashed into smithereens. Even with the current medical technology, it would be extremely difficult for him to fully recover. "Want to kill me? You're courting death." With a boom, Xiaoping, who was originally like a sheep, suddenly erupted with a terrifying aura. It was as if he had suddenly turned into an ancient fierce beast. His body immediately emitted a terrifying red flame, and a faint shadow of a golden crow of hell appeared behind him. A huge light illuminated the surroundings, shining like the sun. Whoosh! Immediately, the steel chains that were originally tied around Xiaoping's body melted under the burning of the red flame, turning into a large amount of molten iron. Sizzle! A huge amount of thick smoke also rose from the ground, as if the molten iron had been corroded by the red molten iron. Potholes appeared on the ground, and the chains on Xiaoping's body were all melted. Ah! The bald windchaser bandit was caught off guard and was immediately hit by the huge light from Xiaoping's body. His eyes were blinded by the light and blood flowed out of his eyes. He could not help but cry out in pain. Xiaoping punched out and circulated the skill in his body. A strong force erupted from the depths of his body like a flood, crashing into the bald man's head. Dong! Immediately, the bald man's head exploded like a watermelon. This. The windchaser bandits at the side were dumbfounded. They saw that the bald man was only left with a headless corpse, standing quietly on the spot. Blood dripped down from the corpse, and there was no longer any sign of life. They could not believe their eyes. This bald man was a martial master of the first heaven. It should have been easy for him to deal with this spoiled brat. But now the young man's attack had exploded the bald man's head, and he had killed him with a single punch. He was extremely ferocious. This young man. The eyes of the leader of the Windchaser bandits, Ko Gao, could not help but narrow. At this moment he really looked at Xia Ping, and he felt that the young man's body was filled with a threatening aura. Perhaps this young man was not the spoiled brat they had imagined, but a hungry wolf in sheep's clothing. Did you think that by capturing me and bringing me to this place, you would be able to defeat me? Little did you know the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Xia Ping stood with his hands behind his back, and his clothes fluttered even though there was no wind. You all wanted to kill me, but I also wanted to kill all of you in one fell swoop. You all thought that you were strong enough to capture me, but if I did not pretend to cooperate, how could you cowards even touch a hair on my head? I'll be straightforward. Today, you evil Windchaser bandits, don't even think of escaping. At this moment he finally revealed his true strength, no longer hiding anything. Pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger, this young man is pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. This time we have been completely fooled. One of the Windchaser bandits could not help but cry out as he looked at Xia Ping in fear. Damn it, this spoiled brat is actually an expert. He has definitely reached the martial master realm. Damn it, he purposely pretended that he was no match for us, and pretended that we had captured him. Actually, he wanted to use this opportunity to find our lair. This is too despicable. What's there to be afraid of? No matter how strong he is just one person. 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. I don't believe that this young man has 3 heads and 6 arms. Everyone attack together. In a few breaths' time we will beat the crap out of him. That's right, a mere spoiled brat is nothing to be afraid of. This is the lair of the Windchaser bandits. He has no right to behave atrociously here. Many of the Windchaser bandits began to shout. As long as they worked together, killing Xia Ping would be a piece of cake. I said all of you will die today. All of you will die. No one will be able to save you. Chapter 446. Rumble. At this moment the flames on Xia Ping's body immediately burst out. His whole body was like a man on fire, burning in the air, and the surrounding temperature rose sharply. The surrounding wind-chasing bandits were all shocked, feeling the hot temperature as if they were in a furnace, as if their bodies would be incinerated by the flames if they got a little closer. Damn, what kind of qigong is this? How can it be so terrifying? We can't let him continue, otherwise we will die. Attack, attack together, kill this kid in an instant. Many wind-chasing bandits shouted one after another. They instantly operated their qigong astral wind technique. The surrounding airflow surged crazily, completely under their control. They all cultivated the same cultivation method. After reaching the martial master realm, they could control the airflow at will, so their speed was extremely fast, coming and going like the wind, and their attack power was strong. Even because they all cultivated the same cultivation method, when they gathered together, it was like a tacit understanding. Dozens of people joined hands, the threat of unimaginable terror. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, dozens of wind-chasing bandits attacked at the same time, condensing chi into a blade. The surrounding air vibrated, true essence actually condensed into a piece of wind blade. Kill. A wind-chasing bandit shouted angrily. Dozens of hundreds of wind blades burst out at the same time, cutting the air, vibrating at high frequency, attacking Xia Ping's body, wanting to tear his body into pieces. The power of such wind blades was extremely terrifying, equivalent to a treasure sword that could cut iron like mud, bombarding on steel. It could easily cut in half, indestructible. Dark North Body Protection Technique. Xia Ping operated the technique in his body, took a step forward, his hands immediately set up a void circle. Immediately a transparent energy shield instantly surrounded his body tightly. Bang bang bang. In a flash, hundreds of wind blades attacked at the same time, fiercely bombarding the energy shield, madly trying to cut the energy shield into countless pieces. But the energy shield was flowing like water, constantly weakening the energy of these wind blades. No matter how these wind-chasing bandits urged true essence, they could not break through. Recoil. Xia Ping's eyes revealed a cold light, his hands turned into a circle and a palm shot. The Dark North Body Protection Technique in the body ran, as if there was a Kuan Ping hidden in it. This Qigong circulation route map, the faint light of true essence, faintly exudes a mysterious aura, reached the 3rd level of the Dark North Body Defense Art. this technique has become more powerful. Buzz, at this moment, the energy ring covering Xiaoping's body produced a strange vibration. The wind blades that were originally embedded in the energy barrier instantly vibrated, and were sent flying by the tyrannical force, returning along the way. Boom. The Windchaser bandits were caught off guard. How could they have imagined that their full-powered attacks would not only fail to cause any damage to Xiaoping, but they would also be reflected back at them? Ah! Immediately, a few of the Windchaser bandits were unable to dodge in time. They were left wide open, and the powerful wind blades flew back, instantly slicing their bodies in half. With a crash, their blood sprayed out like a fountain, and their corpses fell to the ground. The incision was smooth and their eyes were wide open. They died with grievances. Although most of the Windchaser bandits avoided this fatal blow, they were also injured by these wind blades. Some had their chests torn open, some had their arms cut off, some had their legs cut off, some had their ears cut off, and some had their hair shaved off. Many of the Windchaser bandits were in so much pain that they rolled on the ground and screamed. Go to hell. Xiaoping punched out, and the true essence in his body surged out. The energy like lava burst out, and a terrifying flame condensed in his fist and exploded in an instant. Roar! He felt the hell golden crow cells in his body vibrate, and there seemed to be a divine bird roaring in the void, quickly condensing into a terrifying dark red flame. Even these flames turned into small golden crows, which flapped their wings and flew in all directions. Those Windchaser bandits could not escape at all, and many of them were hit. Immediately, those Windchaser bandits were burned to a crisp, like the Samadhi true fire. It was impossible to put them out, and all the cells in their bodies were on fire. In a few breaths, more than a dozen Windchaser bandits had been burned to a crisp, leaving only a pile of black dust and endless screams. This feeling. Xiaoping felt that this punch seemed to have deepened his understanding of the Hell Golden Crow bloodline. Even his soul was shaken and his mind power was enhanced. At this moment, with a bang, the second Hell Golden Crow cell finally awakened, and immediately turned into a large amount of life source energy, which was integrated into the true essence in his dantian. Pa pa pa. This energy was too strong, and the true essence was like a raging sea. The 14th and 15th meridians in his body were all broken, and his power was enhanced. Interesting. Xiaoping clenched his fists, and his mind power controlled the surroundings. The little golden crows formed by the flames around him seemed to be alive at this moment, as if they had intelligence. As long as he willed it, the little golden crows would immediately flap their wings and attack the enemy in a suicidal attack. Once the flames exploded, even a third-layer martial master would be killed in an instant. The power was boundless. If there were thousands of little golden crows, the power would be unimaginable. It would be no less than 1,000 guided missiles exploding. At this moment, his strength actually received a huge boost. Monster. He's a monster. What kind of silk pants are you talking about? He's a god of death. Fire like that and energy art like that. He's definitely the descendant of a monarch. Damn it. Why would someone from a monarch clan come looking for trouble with us Windchaser bandits? Who was it? Who was so stupid as to kidnap this scourge? How is this eradicating a scourge? This is clearly inviting a god of pestilence. This is inviting a wolf into the house. Seeing how Xiaoping had killed 20 of their companions in just a few breaths of time, the remaining Windchaser bandits were terrified. They felt as if the god of death was about to descend upon them. Moments ago, they had thought that Yang Qi was nothing more than a silk pants who only knew how to brag. Without a clan to back him up, and without the luminous god, he was no threat at all. He was just a fish on the chopping block waiting to be slaughtered. But how could they have guessed that Yang Qi was a fiend himself? Not even the iron chains could hold him down. Now, the entire Windchaser bandits were on the verge of being wiped out. Chapter 447. Damn it, damn it. Seeing so many of his companions die, the leader of the wind-chasing bandits, Ko Gao, could not take it anymore. His expression turned sinister as he glared at Xiaoping. I've really misjudged you. But you've killed so many of my companions. You must die. You must die. Royal Martial Technique, Phantom Wind Saber Technique. With a boom, Ko Gao drew his saber and slashed at Xiaoping. The quintessential essence of a fourth-layer martial master burst out from his body, shaking the entire village. He brandished his saber. His entire body seemed to have become the center of a tornado. Countless air currents were controlled by his power and gathered at the tip of the saber. In the blink of an eye, countless air currents condensed into small saber chi. They were indestructible. Indistinctly, the cries of evil spirits could be heard in the air. The people at the side could see wisps of black aura surging out from Kogao's body. It was extremely evil, horrifying, and vicious. Once an ordinary person came into contact with it, even their mental power would be contaminated. The ground was cut by the wind blades and immediately shattered. Countless cracks appeared and crushed stones flew in all directions like a spiderweb, densely distributed in all directions. Snapping sounds rang out. Xia Ping's eyes revealed a cold gleam. He took a step forward and punched out. Immovable Buddha's palm. This palm was many times stronger than when he was in the martial disciple realm. Quintessential essence condensed into a huge golden palm. It looked like it was made of gold and was extremely heavy. The lines on the golden palm seemed to be extremely clear at this moment. Each line contained a trace of Buddha's power and emitted waves of Buddha's Sanskrit. Rings of dark red flames even appeared around the golden palm. The holy and evil powers intertwined, like the fusion of Buddha's power and demon's power. It contained an unparalleled might. Damn it, what kind of power is this? Kogao was shocked. He was clearly an expert of the 4th layer martial master. His opponent was at most a 2nd layer martial master. In terms of martial realm and quintessential essence, he should be stronger. However, this palm strike contained an irresistible mental power. It came crashing down like a tidal wave, causing his soul to experience terrifying hallucinations. He felt that his opponent was not a human but a ruler of hell. It carried the power of judgment and wanted to send him to the 18th layer of hell to suffer for eternity. Dong. With a slap of his palm, the countless blade auras in front of him were instantly torn apart, shattering the wind blades inch by inch. Even the huge blade in Bandit's hand was shaken into a pile of scrap iron by this tyrannical force. Kogao let out a blood-curdling screech. His entire body was sent flying by this force. In an instant, he was sent flying for dozens of meters before smashing into a mountain wall in the distance. Immediately, a huge palm print with a diameter of more than 10 meters appeared on the huge mountain wall. Flames burned the surrounding rocks, turning them into a large amount of lava. Just like that, Kogao was slammed against the mountain wall like a fly. He couldn't help but spit out a large mouthful of blood. His internal organs were severely injured, and his combat power was reduced by more than half. It can't be. The remaining Windchaser bandits were terrified. Originally, they thought that their boss would be able to deal with this arrogant brat. However, they didn't expect that they wouldn't even be a match for a single move from this brat. With just one palm, Xiaoqin smashed their boss Kogao into the wall like a mosquito. If not for the strong life force of a martial master and the toughness of his bones, he would have been smashed to death long ago. It could be said that this kind of strength was extremely terrifying. When the surrounding Windchaser bandits felt Xia Ping's aura, they all trembled in fear. This kind of aura was like that of a demonic god. None of them were a match for this brat. With a plop, a bald man immediately knelt on the ground towards Xia Ping. He cried bitterly and begged for mercy. "Hero, please spare us. Please spare our lowly lives. Actually, it's not that we wanted to be bandits. We were forced to do so by this world. To think that I used to be a good citizen who knew my place and was conscientious in my work. However, my boss, who was a son of a bitch, beat me and scolded me every day. He treated me like a dog and maliciously deducted my wages. What's worse was that he seduced my wife and made me a cuckold. Thus, in a fit of rage on a dark and windy night, I killed the adulterous couple. That's why I had no choice but to run away and become a bandit. The reason why I went around robbing merchant groups was to make a living. We are essentially good people, good people. If you can spare our lives, we will definitely know our place and never come out to do bad things again." He continuously kowtowed until his forehead was bleeding. He looked extremely pitiful, hoping that Xia Ping would spare his lowly life. Bang! Before he could finish his words, Xia Ping slapped him. A tyrannical force exploded, instantly smashing the bald man's head into smithereens. His internal organs were also shattered. The terrifying flames engulfed the bald man's body in an instant. In just a few breaths, the bald man's corpse was burned to ashes. "Fuck, are you still human?" One of the Windchaser bandits shouted. "Didn't you see how pitiful he was? He was beaten, scolded, and even made a cuckold. He had no choice but to become a bandit. You didn't even intend to listen to him and just killed him with a slap. Do you still have a conscience?" The surrounding Windchaser bandits' faces turned green. They had thought that this brat was a student and had a conscience. Perhaps he would have some sympathy for them. As long as he said some bitter words, he would be able to live. At the very least, he would have hesitated in his heart. This would give them a chance to escape. After all, some students with a sense of justice would do that. But who would have thought that this bastard was cold-blooded and heartless? He didn't even intend to listen to them and just killed the bald man with a slap. It was clean and neat. He was even more vicious than them. One could totally imagine that the brainless look he had in Western Wilderness City was definitely an act. This kind of acting was enough to win the title of Best Actor. What does it have to do with me? Xiaoping looked at the ashes on the ground and said, I don't care what grievances you have. I just accepted a mission to kill you. That's all. If you have grievances and are unhappy, go complain to Hades. That's his job. This bald man had a tragic life and died unjustly. But were those who were killed by the Windchaser bandits wronged? Were they worthy of sympathy? Just because he had a pitiful life, everything he did was right and everything he said was right. What a joke. How could there be such logic in this world? He couldn't be bothered with who was right and who was wrong. Those who blocked his path should all die. That was all. This bastard. Chapter 448. All right, all of you, go on your way. Xiaoping's eyes flashed with a cold light. He circulated the true yuan in his body and instantly, a huge flame appeared in the surroundings, filling up the surrounding space. In just a few breaths of time, the space had become incomparably hot. One by one, the flames flew out and landed on the bodies of the surrounding wind-chasing bandits. With a loud bang, the wind-chasing bandits were unable to resist and were instantly hit by the flames. Immediately, their bodies were incinerated by the flames. In just a few breaths of time, they were all burnt to ashes. Damn monster. After killing more than a dozen wind-chasing bandits in an instant, the remaining wind-chasing bandits were all incomparably terrified. Their hearts were filled with a large amount of cold air. Their opponent's qigong was too terrifying. Ordinary methods would not be able to withstand it. If this kid wanted to kill them, it was only a matter of time. If you want us to die, you can go ahead and die first. All of a sudden, an angry roar came from afar. Ko Gao, who was originally lying on the mountain wall, unable to move, suddenly crawled out of the pit of rocks. His body was covered with a large amount of blood. He stared at Xiaoping with a ferocious expression. He came to a wall and pressed his hand on a protruding rock. With a bang, he pressed hard and immediately cracking sounds could be heard. It's over. Boss has activated the self-destruct switch here. Seeing this, the group of wind-chasing bandits immediately fell into despair. They knew that Ko Gao was no match for Xiaoping, so they wanted to use the mechanism here to kill him. Rumble, at this moment the ceiling immediately split open, and huge rocks fell from the sky. Each of them was as tall as a person and weighed over 100 tons. They fell from the sky like meteors crashing into the ground, carrying with them a terrifying might. With so many rocks falling, even a martial master would be smashed into meat paste. Ko Gao and the others seemed to be prepared for this. They headed towards a hole that suddenly split open in front of them and immediately dove into it. Soon they disappeared from the hall. However, the other wind-chasing bandits could not make it in time. Huge rocks fell and smashed into their bodies. Instantly they let out miserable screams like pigs being slaughtered. With a few bangs they were smashed into meat paste, losing all signs of life. 4 seasons sword art, continuous spring rain. Xiaoping made his move in an instant. He grasped his qi into a sword, and a majestic sword qi instantly burst out, condensing into a large number of sword qi lines, like a spring rain line. Streams of sword qi interweaved together like a spider weaving a web, forming a huge sword qi net that instantly blasted towards the rock above. With a boom, the huge rock falling from the sky was shattered by the powerful sword qi. It split into pieces and scattered in all directions. At the same time, he drew on his energy arts, causing flames to spring up that burned the rubble that had fallen to the ground into molten lava. Sizzling sounds could be heard as smoke rose up into the air. At this moment, all the rocks fell from the sky. Other than the area where Xiaoping was, the other areas were covered by huge rocks. There was no gap at all. The Windchaser bandits who didn't escape in time were smashed into meat paste by these rocks. Don't even think of running. Xiaoping threw a punch at the entrance of the underground tunnel. With a loud bang, several rocks in front of him were instantly smashed open, creating a huge hole. Immediately, a dark hole appeared in front of him, faintly emitting a faint light. No one knew where it led to. With a whoosh, without saying anything, he used the Kunpeng steps to control the airflow. His whole body was like a big bird, extremely fast, and he immediately chased after the Windchaser bandits. The tunnel continued to extend. It seemed to have been hollowed out by the Windchaser bandits. The surrounding stone walls were equipped with electric lamps, emitting a faint light. In a few breaths, Xiaoping caught up with the fleeing Windchaser bandits. No way, that brat didn't die? How is this possible? So many rocks fell down, how did this brat not die? Does he have copper skin and iron bones? Are you kidding me? Is he really a monster? Run, we can't stay here, we'll die if we do. Who is it? Which idiot invited the wolf into the house? He actually attracted this monster to our place. He wants to kill all of us. Now we're all finished. How is this brat a spoiled brat? How is he an idiot? He's clearly a murderer, 100 times crueler than us Windchaser bandits who kill people like flies. Some of the Windchaser bandits immediately noticed that Xiaoping was chasing after them. They were extremely afraid. If even this kind of trap couldn't kill this spoiled brat, then how could they kill this monster? They completely lost the courage to fight Xiaoping and fled into the distance. As for the leader of the Windchaser bandits, Ko Gao, his face was deathly pale. He ran for his life, wishing that his parents could give him more legs. Myriad Beast's fist third style, bear-splitting palm. Xiaoping slapped out with his palm, like a ferocious bear coming out of the mountains. A terrifying Zhenyuan palm came crashing down, piercing through the air and vibrating thousands of times. The surrounding air seemed to be filled with mercury. Bang bang bang. The Windchaser bandits' Zhenqi protective layer was immediately shattered by this tyrannical force. The terrifying force passed through their bodies, and in an instant, their internal organs were shattered. All of them puked out a huge amount of blood and fell onto the ground dead. Even Ko Gao couldn't handle this power and was blown away. A clear palm print could be seen on his chest, and he fell onto the ground while puking out blood. Spare me. Seeing Xiaoping approaching, Ko Gao yelled out, as long as you spare my life, I can give you whatever you want. I am the leader of the Windchaser bandits, and I've been running wild around the West Wasteland City for more than 10 years. I've done all kinds of evil deeds and I've robbed countless treasures. As long as you spare my life, all the treasures I have will belong to you. Before he could finish, Xiaoping slapped out with his palm. Boom. Ko Gao's skull was shattered into pieces and he died on the spot. A huge amount of blood flowed out from his eyes, mouth, nose and ears, making dripping sounds. His eyes were wide open, filled with fear and unwillingness. Before he died, he didn't expect that Xiaoping would be this cruel. He didn't even wait for him to finish his sentence before killing him with one palm. If this brat had hesitated for even a second, he might have been able to live. It's him? So cruel. Xiaoping squinted his eyes. He saw that Ko Gao was holding a remote control in his right hand, and it seemed like he only needed to press it lightly to activate the mechanism of this tunnel. But too bad he didn't give Ko Gao any time to react, and directly killed him with one palm. He didn't even have the time to activate the mechanism and died on the spot. Chapter 449. At the end of the tunnel, there was a thick iron door made of titanium alloy. It was 5 meters tall and extremely heavy. Even hundreds of tons of explosives would not be able to blow it open. A high-tech lock was installed on the side. It seemed to require a fingerprint and retina verification to open it. Xiaoping grabbed the corpse of the leader of the Windchasers, Ko Gao, and placed it in front of the iron door for verification. Immediately, a mechanical voice came from the iron door. Retina verification successful. Fingerprint verification successful. Master Ko Gao confirmed. Open the door now. With a beep, the door slowly opened, revealing the interior. It was a huge stone room. However, this stone room was filled with treasures. A large number of elixirs were placed on the left side, a large number of weapons were placed on the right side, and some martial arts manuals were placed on the bookshelves in front. There were even red wooden chests that were filled with gold, silver, and other treasures. A rough estimate was that these treasures were worth at least 40 to 50 billion federal coins. Moreover, these Windchasers had spent a lot of money and resources in order to improve their martial arts cultivation and survive for more than 10 years. But even so, there was still so much left in the treasury. It was enough to prove that the wealth of these Windchaser bandits was not something that ordinary bandits could compare to. TSK, this must be the lifetime wealth of these wind-chasing bandits. They plundered for more than 10 years. Furthermore, they were martial masters. Their harvest is even more shocking, Xiaoping exclaimed in admiration, his eyes lighting up. If he sold all these treasures, he would definitely become rich overnight. Even a peak martial master would need a lot of time to earn tens of billions of federal coins. Indeed, a man would not be rich without a windfall, and a horse would not be fat without grass at night. No way, these are wood spiritual pills. Xiaoping stepped forward and immediately saw bottles of wood spiritual pills placed in wooden boxes. They were worth at least a few billion federal coins. Even for martial masters, wood spiritual pills had a considerable effect because they contained extremely pure wood energy. It was very beneficial to the human body and could strengthen the energy of the source of life. This is Snow Lotus Pill. They actually have such a precious pill? Xiaoping looked over. In addition to wood spiritual pills, he also found another precious pill, Snow Lotus Pill. The main ingredient of this pill was said to be a 1,000-year-old snow lotus that grew on a 10,000-meter tall mountain. This kind of spirit herb contained pure energy and was extremely precious. Its value was even higher than the profoundine fruit. Consuming a snow lotus pill could save a martial master a year of cultivation time. It could be said that this pill was simply a holy pill for a martial master. However, there were actually 13 of such elixirs. It was likely that the boss of the bandits, Ko Gao, had spent a huge sum of money to buy it for his own cultivation, but he hadn't had the time to use it yet. However, these precious medicinal pills were all his now. What's this? After checking all the pills, Xiaoping turned to look at the weapons. Most of them were cold weapons, but there were also some laser guns, grenades, and other hot weapons. Originally, there was nothing strange about it. However, he discovered a long black box that seemed to be tied up by iron chains. From the depths of the box, an evil aura leaked out. He even put a seal on the box, forbidding anyone from approaching and touching it. Of course, Xiaoping didn't care about these warnings. With a slap, he immediately shattered the iron chains into countless pieces. Even the black box was shattered into pieces. Immediately, something came out of the black box. It was a spear. A black spear. Xiaoping's eyes were fixed on the black spear. There were strange patterns carved on it. It seemed as if strange and evil monsters were emerging from the spear. They were vivid and lifelike, as if they were about to rush out of the spear. Whoosh! At this moment, the spear began to vibrate, and a large amount of black evil aura gushed out. It actually transformed into many skulls with ferocious expressions. They fiercely pounced on Xiaoping, trying to devour him. Vaguely, there seemed to be a strange spiritual fluctuation in the air. This spiritual fluctuation contained an evil and chaotic taste, which could corrode the human spirit. At this moment, Xiaoping's spirit was attacked. He seemed to have fallen into an illusion. He was surrounded by countless demons. These demons were crazily biting and devouring his soul. He fell into a state of despair. "You're courting death." At this moment, Xiaoping felt that his life was in danger. The aura in his body immediately operated. The two golden crow hell cells roared and let out an earth-shattering cry. Bang bang bang. The sound waves vibrated, and the black aura was immediately shaken by the terrifying sound waves. These demons seemed to have encountered their natural enemy. They all screamed in horror and were scared out of their wits. The black aura quickly retreated and shrank back into the black spear. Refine. Xiaoping stepped forward and grabbed the black spear. However, the black spear was shaking crazily, struggling and trying to escape from his hand. He operated the spiritual ether in his body and permeated it. Terrifying flames surrounded the spear, making crackling sounds. However, what surprised Xiaoping was that even under such a high temperature, the spear didn't seem to be affected at all. It seemed that this kind of temperature couldn't melt this kind of material. At the same time, he permeated it with his spiritual power and left a spiritual mark inside. After a while, the black spear was refined. It seemed to have stopped struggling and finally recognized Xiaoping as its master. It was no longer resisting like before. Treasured weapon. This is a treasured weapon. Its name is Hell Spear. Xiaoping gripped the spear tightly. He could feel that the spear contained a terrifying power. Once it exploded, it would be able to pierce through everything. However, this Hell Spear was also extremely dangerous. It contained a dark, evil, and chaotic power. If someone dared to touch this Hell Spear, they would immediately be eroded by the spiritual power inside. Over time, they would become bloodthirsty monsters that only knew how to kill. The wind-chasing bandits also knew this. They probably had many accidents in the past. Therefore, they sealed this black spear and never used it again. They were also extremely afraid of this spear. They called it the Spear of Curses. Otherwise, if Kogao could use this Hell Spear, it would be impossible for him to kill Kogao. However, although the Hell Spear was very dangerous, it was only for ordinary people. Chapter 450. I wonder what kind of power it has? Xia Ping clenched the spear and infused the true essence in his body into it. The spear immediately vibrated, and the strange and evil lines on it emerged, and there was the cry of ghosts and gods in the void. Wisps of black aura wrapped around the spear, exuding the smell of evil, devouring, corrosion, and so on. Ordinary martial artists would feel terrified if they saw this scene. There was even a strange spiritual force trying to invade Xia Ping's soul through the spear. However, the true essence in Xia Ping's body was running, and the golden crow cells were filled with a holy aura, completely suppressing and even eliminating this power. Dong. He gently poked the spear forward, and the wall next to him was immediately pierced like tofu. The black aura emerged and the wall melted like ice and snow, making a crashing sound. Immediately, a hole with a diameter of 2 or 3 meters appeared on the wall, and the rubble fell to the ground, turning into powder and quicksand with a snap. It's really powerful. Xia Ping's eyes flickered. He could feel the terrifying power of this spear. It was invincible, and if it was driven with all its strength, it could probably even penetrate the outer shell of a spaceship. Even his spiritual force left a spiritual mark on this spear. As long as it was within a kilometer, he could control this spear at will. Even if it left his side, he could summon it back. With this great killing weapon, he could deal with more strong people and be invincible. But there are so many treasures here, how can I take them away? Xia Ping looked at the treasures around the treasury and was a little embarrassed. After all, there were too many treasures here and they were priceless. In any case, these treasures were worth at least tens of billions of federal coins when sold. With this money, he didn't know how many cultivation resources he could buy. He wanted to take them all away, but the problem was that his spatial ring was only 100 cubic meters, and it was impossible to store all these treasures. He could only discard some of them. The problem was that no matter which part it was extremely precious, and he was reluctant to leave it here. If there was no other way, perhaps he could only come to this Windchaser's lair several times, like ants moving house, and take these treasures away one by one. But it would take too long. At this moment, the system's voice came out, "Host, this is not a problem. As long as the host is willing to spend hatred, the storage space of the spatial ring can be immediately expanded." What? Hearing this, Xia Ping's eyes lit up. He immediately asked, "How much can it expand?" 100,000 hatred points can be expanded by 100 cubic meters, and 1 million hatred points can be expanded by 1,000 cubic meters. The more hatred points you spend, the more space you can expand. The system replied. How expensive? Xia Ping sucked in a breath of cold air. He spent so much hatred, but it was only to expand the storage space. But when he thought about it carefully, it was worth it. After all, this was a permanent increase in space. If he obtained more treasures in the future, then the huge storage space would be of great help. This could be considered a long-term investment. Well, spend 2 million hatred points to expand by 2,000 cubic meters. Xia Ping thought for a moment and immediately made a decision. The system replied, "Yes, host." Rumble. Immediately, Xia Ping sensed that the space in his space ring was constantly expanding. Its length, width, and height were all increasing rapidly, slowly becoming the size of 2 ordinary houses. Could hold even more things. And he also had more than 4 million hatred points left on him. Wait, there seems to be air inside this space ring? Xia Ping didn't notice it at first, but when he was promoted to the martial master realm, his spiritual force was more majestic and sensitive. He immediately noticed that this space ring seemed to be connected to the outside world, constantly swallowing and exhaling spiritual energy, exchanging air with the outside world and producing air circulation. If there is air, doesn't that mean that this space ring can hold living things? Thinking of this, Xia Ping couldn't help but get excited. If the space ring could hold living things, then it would be more useful than he thought. At this time, the system said, "Host is right. This space ring can indeed store living things. If the volume is large enough, there is the possibility of growing into a small world in the future." Amazing. Xia Ping's eyes lit up. It was worthy of being a treasure exchanged from the system. Although it was expensive, it was still worth it. If he could continue to expand this space, maybe he could carry a small world with him in the future. That would be terrifying. With a whoosh, he moved his mind and his figure flickered. In the next second he appeared in the space of the space ring, and the ring fell to the ground with a clang. Sure enough, it can store living things. Xia Ping stayed in the space ring. He breathed slowly and felt that it was similar to the real world, surrounded by rich spiritual energy. He reached out and touched his surroundings and found that there was a transparent space barrier, which was very hard. It was estimated that even the power of a nuclear bomb could not break this space barrier. I can even control this space ring? Xia Ping's heart moved, and his spiritual force penetrated into the depths of the space ring, and immediately ran the core power of the space ring. With a whoosh, the space ring actually rose into the air, broke away from gravity, and under the control of Xia Ping's mind, it slowly moved forward, buzzing. But the speed was very slow, almost the same as the speed of a turtle crawling. My spiritual force is still too weak. If it was stronger, I might be able to control this space ring to fly fast, and even break the speed of sound. Xia Ping squeezed his fist. If it was a little faster, then if he entered and exited a dangerous place in the future, he could hide in the space ring, and then use his spiritual force to control it so that he could enter and exit many dangerous places without worrying about his own safety. It can be said that such a treasure has endless magical uses, and spending 2 million hatred points to expand it is definitely worth the money. Walala, with enough space, Xia Ping was not stingy, and immediately moved all the things in the treasure house into the space ring, piling them up one by one. It didn't take long for him to move all the things in the treasure house, and not even a hair was left. If Kogao and the other wind chasers were still alive, they would definitely be mad. They had worked hard for more than 10 years to accumulate such treasures, but now all of them were taken away by Xia Ping, leaving nothing behind. This was simply making a wedding dress for others. Well, it's finally done. Xia Ping smiled slightly, feeling comfortable. However, his space ring was only half filled with things, not all of them, but even so, it was equivalent to filling a house with treasures, and the number was astonishing. Chapter 451. The next day the sun shone brightly. At the entrance of Western Wasteland City's Impossibility Gang's headquarters, a few guards were stationed there. There were many people coming and going, and it was very lively. Captain, I wonder if the young master you mentioned will come today? Yeah, this is the first time I've seen such a generous person, giving out 100,000 federal coins as a tip. Just receiving him alone is enough for us to live comfortably this month. I really hope there are a few more guests like him. That would be great. Isn't that so? The guards were chatting casually. The scene yesterday had a huge impact on them. Even though they had seen many different kinds of people in Western Wasteland City, this was the first time they had seen such a young master. Let's not talk about this anymore. He won't come again. A guard captain sneered. In short, the gang leader has already given a gag order. You guys are not allowed to talk about this in the future. That young master has never come, so we can't help you. As a middle-level member of the gang, he knew a lot of inside information. He knew that the young master had long been captured by the wind-chasing bandits and was probably suffering inhumane torture. He might even be dead already. A dead person like this would naturally not come again. Of course, this matter was top secret and could not be told to his subordinates. Captain, what do you mean? Why can't we talk about it? A guard asked curiously. The guard captain's eyes turned cold. If you can't talk about it, then you can't talk about it. In this world, the more you know, the faster you die. Don't you guys understand this? He warned the curious subordinates beside him. The reason why this matter was forbidden to be discussed was because the Impossibility Gang leader was worried that the kid's family would go crazy. If the power behind the kid found out, it might lead to revenge. Therefore, the Impossibility Gang wanted to completely seal this news and pretend that it had never happened. This way, even if the truth came to light, they would not be implicated. Yes, Captain. Instantly, the guards were silent and did not dare to ask any more. They knew that something big must have happened. Otherwise, why would the gang leader issue a ban? Furthermore, as members of the underworld, they knew that there were all kinds of restrictions in this industry. If they casually touched it, they would be dead on the streets the next day. That's not right, Captain. Didn't you say that kid wouldn't come? But who is that young man? Suddenly, one of the guards shouted, pointing at a young man who was slowly walking over. What? The guard captain followed his subordinate's gaze, and when he saw the figure walking over, he was shocked. That person was Xia Ping. The problem wasn't this kid captured by the Windchaser bandits a long time ago, tortured inhumanely, and perhaps even killed? Why did he appear in this place and come to helplessness? He immediately felt that something was wrong. If this kid didn't die, then they wouldn't be able to help and something big would happen. I'm here to see your supervisor. Xia Ping came to the entrance of the lawless gang and went straight to the point. Where is he right now? Tell him to come out immediately. I have something to discuss with him. This. The guard captain panicked, but he was someone who had experienced many dangerous situations, so he quickly calmed down and regained his composure. I'm sorry, the supervisor has gone out to deal with some matters and is not in the headquarters for the time being. Young master, if there's anything important, feel free to tell me. When he comes back, I will immediately report to him. He wanted to stall for time and stop Xia Ping from going in. He wanted to find out what happened first before making a decision. Went out to deal with some matters? That's a good excuse. Xia Ping sneered. I'll be honest with you, helplessness offended me and I am very angry. The consequences are very serious. If you don't tell the person in charge of helplessness gang to come out and give me an explanation, you won't be able to bear the consequences today. Do you understand? Hearing this, the guard captain's attitude immediately became tough. He said coldly, Kid, don't be so shameless. This is Western Huang City, this is the territory of helplessness gang. If you want to behave atrociously here and throw a tantrum like a young master, you are not qualified at all. Do you understand? If you know what's good for you. Before he could finish, Xia Ping grabbed out with his hand and formed a sword with his chi. In an instant, he smashed towards the guard captain and pierced through his chest. This. You dare to kill me? The guard captain looked at Xia Ping in disbelief. His eyes were filled with fear as he watched a bloody hole appear in his chest. His heart had been destroyed. Because of the strong vitality of a martial master, even if his heart was destroyed, he could still survive for more than 10 seconds. However, he didn't dare to believe that this hedonistic son of a rich family actually dared to kill him in one move in front of so many people. This was too crazy. Don't dare to kill you? Who do you think you are? I have no taboo when it comes to killing. Xia Ping looked at the guard captain indifferently. You want to stop me from going in? You are loyal to helplessness gang? You don't even know how to write the word death. Go to hell and show your loyalty to the king of hell. With a bang, he circulated his qigong, and the long sword formed by quintessential essence immediately exploded. Immediately, the guard captain's body was blasted into pieces. His flesh was badly mutilated and a large amount of blood sprayed out. The surrounding guards and pedestrians were all stained with the blood. The whole place was scarlet and it looked extremely terrifying. Murder. Someone killed someone. Oh my God, where did this kid come from? This is too exaggerated. He actually dared to kill someone in public. Moreover, the person he killed wasn't an ordinary person. He was the guard captain of Helplessness Gang, a middle-level leader, an elite. Now that he was killed in public, how could this be? The whole Helplessness Gang will go crazy. Crazy, this is too crazy. Doesn't he know that killing someone in Western Desolation City is against the laws and regulations here? I reckon that even the Western Desolation City's police will be mobilized to arrest him. I reckon he's here for revenge. This Helplessness Gang has offended too many people in recent years. Even if he's here for revenge, he can't do this. In broad daylight, he directly attacked the gate of Helplessness Gang and killed the guard captain. This is like slapping Helplessness Gang's face. This kid is dead for sure. There's no need for the Western Desolation City's police to make a move. Helplessness Gang alone is enough to crush him to death. Indeed, in recent years, Helplessness Gang's power has been expanding rapidly. It's like the sun in the sky. Wanting to fight against helplessness alone is simply a fool's dream. Chapter 452. Someone is here to seek revenge. At the door, seeing that his team leader was killed in one move and lying in a pool of blood, a guard who could not help but scream in fear. What? Someone dares to kill at the door of the Wu Gang? Immediately, 5 or 6 martial masters at the second heaven of the martial master realm rushed out, exuding terrifying evil chi. They all stood in front of Xia Ping. One of them stared at Xia Ping fiercely and shouted angrily, "How dare you? How dare you kill someone I can't help? Kneel down and surrender now, or we will make you die without a burial place." He shouted crazily and everyone within a radius of 3 miles could hear him. The passers-by could not help but cover their ears. One could imagine how terrifying such a shout was. Yesterday, Xia Ping stood still and stared at the group of people. He said calmly, I came here to buy information about the whereabouts of the wind-chasing bandits. But in the blink of an eye, you leaked my information and provoked the wind-chasing bandits. If not for my ability, I would have died in the hands of the wind-chasing bandits. If you don't give me an explanation today, I will not let this matter go." He used the sound wave technique of the 8 sounds of the heavenly dragon. His voice was calm, but everyone present could hear it clearly. There was even a mysterious fluctuation in the air, which made people believe him. "I see. No wonder this guy came here to seek revenge and killed someone I can't help. Anyone would be angry. I came here to buy information, and in the blink of an eye, I can't help but sell my information. Who can stand being framed like this? This is too much. How can anyone do business like this? Selling out their business partners. In the long run, who would dare to do business with the Wu Gang? Aren't they afraid of being betrayed? It seems like I'd better not do business with the Wu Gang in the future. Otherwise, I won't even know when they will betray me. He deserves to be killed. They don't follow the rules of the Jianghu. Who would believe them?" The surrounding people suddenly understood. They were also wondering why this young man was so angry and came here alone to seek revenge. It turned out that someone from the Wu Gang had sold his information and provoked the wind-chasing bandits. If they were in his shoes, they would also be angry. He had provoked a strong enemy for no reason. This was a mortal enemy. Who could tolerate such a thing? The people from the Wu Gang were shocked and angry. This young man of evil intentions said these words on purpose to tarnish the reputation of the Wu Gang. He wanted the world to think that the Wu Gang was a shameless person who sold out his customers. If this news spread, the Wu Gang would be ruined. No one would do business with the Wu Gang anymore. This bitch wanted to completely destroy the lawless gang. This was a drastic measure that was extremely vicious. Bullshit. Hearing the words of the people around him, a martial mentor shouted angrily, "Don't try to mislead us here. You said that you couldn't help us by information, but who can prove this? Where's the witness? Where's the material evidence? Trying to act atrociously in the Can't Help gang without any evidence? Making irresponsible remarks, spreading rumors, and slandering the reputation of the Can't Help gang? Do you know how serious a crime this is?" Some of the people who couldn't help sneered. It was absolutely impossible for this brat to find witnesses and material evidence to prove himself. Everyone here was someone who couldn't help him. Who would help him prove himself? Under the threat of the Wu Gang, even if someone had seen this young man come in, no one would dare to testify unless he wanted to die. They were determined to kill Xia Ping. "I don't think this young man has any evidence. He is from a rival gang. He came here on purpose to tarnish the reputation of the Wu Gang and attack our competitors." A second Heaven Martial Master sneered. "Let's capture him and investigate him thoroughly. Let's see which gang has the guts to go against the Wu Gang." "Evidence? I don't need it. If I say you are guilty, then you are guilty." Xia Ping looked at the group of people indifferently. "I only have one purpose here, and that is to destroy the Wu Gang and uproot the Wu Gang from Western Wilderness City." As soon as he finished speaking, he instantly attacked with a punch. His fist was surrounded by a terrifying dark red flame. It was as if the air had turned into lava. The surrounding temperature rose sharply, as if a sun had descended. With a boom, the fist force broke through the air and smashed toward one of the martial masters. It was as if the god of fire had descended, emitting a terrifying power. The Wu Gang elite's eyes were filled with horror. Such a fist was too fast. It broke through the sound barrier and reached his body in an instant. With a bang, his chest was penetrated by the fist force. A large hole appeared in his chest. There was a sizzling sound in the air and his blood was evaporated by the flames. His body fell to the ground, causing dust to rise. His eyes were wide open, as if he could not believe that he had been killed by such a punch. How dare you attack? Kill him. Kill this arrogant villain immediately." Seeing that one of their companions had been killed by a punch, the 3 or 4 martial masters at the third heaven of the Wu Gang elites beside him all went crazy. Their eyes widened and their chests almost exploded from anger. At the entrance of the Wu Gang headquarters, and in front of so many Wu Gang members, this kid dared to be so unscrupulous and commit murder. He did not respect them at all. They instantly attacked like thunder, punching out in 3 or 4 directions, immediately surrounding Xia Ping from all 4 directions. They definitely wouldn't let this murderer escape. Stupid. Xia Ping's eyes flashed with a cold light. He stood on the ground with one foot, one hand pointing to the sky and the other to the ground like a white crane. His whole body was like a divine sword, sword chi soaring into the sky. The 8th move of the Myriad Beast Fist, White Crane Slash. After advancing to the Martial Master realm, the power of the Myriad Beast Fist had also increased by several times. With the White Crane Slash, the quintessential essence in his body circulated crazily, and a terrifying sword intent brewed in his dantian. It was indestructible and extremely sharp, tearing everything apart. Swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, dozens of sword chi shot out from his body and blasted in all directions. It was like a sky full of sword rain, condensing into a substance, and visible ripples appeared in the air. Ah ah ah. Immediately, 3 or 4 Wu Gang elites let out shrill screams. The protective quintessential chi on their bodies was immediately pierced by the sword chi, and then their bodies were torn to pieces by more than a dozen sword chi. With a bang, the terrifying sword chi immediately exploded in their bodies. They were torn to pieces, their flesh scattered everywhere, and a large amount of blood dyed the ground red. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.